and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple special presentations here before we get going on our workshop. We have Mr. Mass. I'd like to speak on behalf of the interconnections there with the North.
All right, I have, being an engineer, we like to use maps, so we have a couple of maps here, and then these will follow along. All right, the map that I handed out shows the Fredonia water system. Down at the bottom of the page is your water supply reservoir down here. And then you have two 12-inch lines and a 24-inch line that feed from the reservoir into town. And we deal with elevations when we're talking water storage. And the elevation of your clear well at your water plant is 960. And then you have another water storage tank on Webster Road. That's at a lower elevation that you pump out of. And the proposal by Clark Patterson Lee is to put a tank to the east of the village, over here on Miller Road. And then they would run a 12-inch up to the village line. We don't have the final plans yet, but we think that the tank elevation that they're proposing is going to be too low to provide service to the entire village. You'd need about a 110-foot high tank. So we don't know if it's going to provide that much benefit long-term to the village.
Is it for the village? I'm sorry to interrupt. Is this for the village or for this section of the water
Well, they're
district?
building it for this section here, but they're also running a line up to the village that could be a possible interconnection.
Okay, so they're, oh, I see, okay.
So it's always good to have redundant supplies of water, but I don't think it's at a height that's going to benefit and be able to supply the village entirely.
What's the what's the elevation of the center of the village?
Probably around 700, 710 or so.
So you're talking about
So you'd have to
100.
have a 110-foot high tank, which is a very high tank and very expensive. And we don't think they've got their final design plans done, but we think it's going to be a 50-foot high standpipe, and we don't think that would work to provide a full supply to the village. So we were asked to look at that interconnection between with the North County Water District and the village, and then also look at the village's water storage system. And again, you have a clear well at the plant that serves the village by gravity, and then you have a tank on Webster Road and a pump station that you pump into the system. And the odd thing about it is that you're able to supply the town by gravity from your clear well, and it really doesn't make sense to pump water when you have gravity available. So what we think would be a better solution would be to build a new water storage tank south of the Bosse's area off of Route 60. That could be all gravity.
Fredonia
Stockton. Pump.
Off of Fredonia Stockton.
I'm sorry, Dunkirk Stockton Road.
Fredonia.
Stockton.
Fredonia Stockton Road.
That's okay.
Sorry. The elevation along that road are higher, and as you go to Route 60, the elevation drops quite a bit. So what you're looking for is ground at a certain elevation to build the shortest or the least height tank as possible, because that can mean quite a difference in costs. You know, the difference between a 30-foot and a 60-foot high tank can be $400,000. So, you know, you want to try to locate a tank on as high a ground as possible. So that area there, I have another map here.
So
That area south of the.
Yeah, why would you put it there so close to the reservoir and the other storage tank?
I'm sorry. Well,
It's our
you're looking
property.
for ground, a high ground elevation that,
What will it do that's not already being done?
Additional capacity.
you
What's
would
that?
eliminate,
Additional capacity.
additional storage capacity, which you're a little bit short on. And you would eliminate the need to pump. And you would eliminate the need to operate and maintain that pump station on Webster Road.
So you eliminate that one.
Yes. You could eventually, you could keep it as backup, but eventually you could eliminate that and everything would flow by gravity. You wouldn't have to pump anything, which is a big advantage in terms of ongoing maintenance and labor and power costs versus using Mother Nature
That
and
affect
flowing by
any
gravity.
potential increase to the town of Pomfret?
I'm sorry?
How will that affect any potential increase of services to the town of Pomfret?
It wouldn't,
What's the size of this one?
Other than we're increasing our capacity, so
right.
if anything, it's a good thing, because we'd have more capacity for selling it.
What was the capacity of that tank?
The capacity of
proposed
Webster
tank.
Road is
Proposed
1 million
tank.
gallons, and at your Clearwell's 300,000?
No, the proposed tank.
Oh, we would propose 2.5 million gallons. We'd put roughly half of that capacity at a usable storage volume, which is what your design standards are, is to have 1 day at a usable height. And then, so we would propose, and typically you like to have 2 days worth of storage. Your current daily demands are about 1.2 million gallons per day, so that would equate to roughly 2.5 million gallons.
So that would provide us at least 2 days' worth of storage.
Provide at least 2 days worth of storage. It would be what we call a standpipe, which is not an elevated tank. That standpipe's like a pop can versus an elevated tank, which is a golf ball and a tee, and they're much more expensive. So it would be the lower cost standpipe. We would propose doing it out of glass line bolted steel or stainless steel, so you don't have to paint it. Painting these tanks is very expensive. So if you avoid not having to paint the tank for the life of the tank, that saves quite a bit of money.
So were you saying the interconnects wouldn't give us the capacity that we needed?
The interconnect would, well, first, it's a 12-inch line, so that wouldn't supply enough for the village. And the height of the tank that they're proposing wouldn't match the pressures you're getting now from your existing clear well and pump station.
So on our higher elevations of the village,
The
up
higher
around Castle
elevations of the
Heights,
village, you would
Seymour.
probably run short of pressure.
Why wouldn't it be more suitable to put it up close to the reservoir, up at the side of the reservoir? As-
You're looking for ground elevation, so
Right.
that's really kind of steep terrain there, and
Anywhere, I mean, up where you-
construction cost would be
up on
less
the- up
expensive
on the
to
property
access it,
of the-
road access?
Up at the property itself, up at the reservoir itself.
that's a really tight site. You're penned in,
Right, and access
pump
probably.
to fill it.
Yes, so
Yeah.
you would be going backwards, right now, all the water from the reservoir flows down
So you want to use,
quite steep grades to the filtration
so you want to
plant.
use the gravity to fill the tank and then the rest, and then further
That's
further
right. So
down.
you want the
I see.
tank on the
Okay.
downstream side of the filtration process you just performed.
Right. Yeah, right now, the water goes through the filters and goes into a clear well,
Right.
which is just nothing more than a tank, small tank, and then it flows out of there by gravity.
Right. So the higher up and the closest we could get to like our current BOCES right away where our mains run through, we maintain it right away. Anywhere up there, the closer we could get towards the plant would be ideal
Right.
to achieve that simple logic, which is correct. Get more elevation.
Right, to utilize all
Absolutely.
of the water without having to pump
Right,
any.
exactly.
Yep.
So I think that makes more sense in terms of a long-term solution, to have a tank that fills by gravity and services the village by gravity. I think it's something that would be in the best long-range interest of the village to pursue that project, try to pursue grant funding to the extent possible to help pay for it. I think it makes sense for long-term water service. In terms of the North County Water District, although, there would be an interconnect close to the village line that you could valve off, you'd want to have an agreement with them, but it's not going to provide anywhere near the capacity you need at the proper volume and pressure to serve the village in its entirety. So,
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Think so.
Makes a lot of
Comments?
sense. Thank you.
Yes,
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
This is neat.
So that's just something to consider and think about here with those connections. I didn't realize our usage a day was 1.2 million. I didn't realize it was that much, so we need the storage, 1 day usage and then 1 day storage. Right now, I'd like to ask somebody from the Small Business Revolution Committee, Fredonia Committee, to address the board on the resolutions tonight and any other things they'd like to address, please.
Do I need a microphone or can I just stand here? You should pick voice, is this okay?
Well, does he need that for the TV?
Yeah, just take it, you want me to, just take it over there. Good evening, I'm Todd Tranum, I'm President and CEO of the Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce. Our organization represents 950 businesses in Chautauqua County, including here 60 in Fredonia. There's a proposal resolution in front of you regarding an event we want to put together here tomorrow evening. The request is to close down a section of Church Street to accommodate a large screen television and some sound equipment for that activity. So that's part one. I wanted to also speak to the small business revolution and I guess maybe to familiarize you with who I am. I lived in this community for 4.5 years as a Fredonia State student. Why the extra half? Probably because I spent too much time downtown. Took me a little extra time to get out. But I lived on Center Street, Eagle Street, Prospect, Brigham, and Cleveland, and it's not because we were skipping out on rent. We just liked checking out the whole neighborhood. For the past 2 months, I've spent a lot of time working here in Fredonia on the Small Business Revolution project. Why? Because, hey, it's my job. I run in the chamber. We have 6 community chambers, one of which is here in Fredonia, and it's been an important part of our work. But I've also been invested in this because I'm a former resident and a former student in this community, and this has been my way of giving back to a community that gave a lot to me during those 4.5 years. This got kicked off because a young lady named Grace Chikowski nominated this community, a former alum, or an alum of Fredonia High School, currently in Washington, D.C. She had a vision. She wanted to see her hometown be visible to a worldwide audience. She wanted to see her hometown receive the benefit of a $500,000 revitalization investment. And she wanted her hometown and its small businesses to benefit and receive some significant technical support from Deluxe in the small business revolution in the form of marketing and business planning and some of the other things they would do here if we're so fortunate, knock on wood, to hear good news tomorrow night. We picked up, our group, a team of community leaders and people from all walks of life picked up on that vision and drove this effort. In my 20 years of working in communities on economic development, on marketing, on promotional events, and various community initiatives, I have never, ever experienced anything like this. And that includes my experience when I left here and spent four or 5 years in Phoenix, Arizona. I have never seen a community rally the way this community has around this initiative. And regardless of the outcome tomorrow, this community has an opportunity to leverage the energy, and that I would contend is unprecedented. Last Monday evening was telling to me. I went back to campus. I spent an evening with a couple of our committee members talking to students. We went to the Starbucks, we went to the Williams Center, we went to the dining halls to get votes. 4 out of 5 students had either already voted or all of a sudden, oh, we forgot to vote today, and immediately voted. That was telling to me in that you have their attention. And I know that's been a challenge over the years to get students involved and engaged in things in the community. You have their attention, and I would implore you all to ride this wave. Harness this energy and do something good with it. Set an example here that makes those kids in those dorms and throughout this community want to stay here because we need them. I thank you for your consideration of our proposal. I appreciate the support we've had from the community in this initiative. And let's cross our fingers for good news tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, before we move on to our regular agenda, I'd like to call to go into executive session so that we can discuss the employment of employees in the water treatment plant, fire department, and in Village Hall here. Could I have a motion to do that, please?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second's been made. Is there any discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried. Workshop session, January 27th, 2020.
You should.
Before we go any further, I'd just like to remind our board, I would like to ask that they refrain from remarks that are in poor taste or slanderous.
You want to announce that we came out of executive session and a vote was taken?
Yes, we came out of executive session and a vote was taken on an action. Thank you, Trustee Britz.
Welcome.
Okay, let's review resolutions. Number one, accepting donation from Aldani Brothers Lawn Care. Any questions, any comments?
I talked with, I believe it was Kyle, earlier, regarding this. He had some questions where it was at. I told him we were ready to, approve it. Thanked him for his donation. So there's, I told him my concern though is when I met last week with the people from the Opera House and the engineers for their project, they're going to be doing outside work, and they're also looking at redoing the entrance on Temple Street. One of their proposals is to add a marquee instead of the sign that's there. That's right now at SHPO, the State Historical Preservation, and they have to get that approved. My concern to them was maybe we should hold off as far as the actual design. So I think we have two things here. We have accepting the donation, which I think we can go ahead and do that. But then under police sign choice, when we get to that under old business, I'm suggesting we maybe hold off, because if the Opera House, the design we were looking at and their current sign matches the Opera House sign, but if the Opera House does something totally different, it may no longer match. My other concern is I've been talking with Rick Davis about the work that has to be done, including replacing those windows. I don't want to put a new sign up and have somebody working right up above it, which they will be, and have a new sign get damaged. So even if we approve it, I recommend we hold off installing it until all that work is done on the building.
Sounds appropriate.
But I like I said, I talked to them. I thanked them for their generous contribution and told them at the most we might just hold off on final design, pending what the board decides to do. So So I guess we could go ahead and I'm guessing we could probably go ahead and accept their donation and just hold off on final design.
Any other comments on that? A letter from Rich Ryan from the SBR team member. Can you read that for us? Yes, could you read the letter for us, please?
Dear Mayor and Village Trustees, as you are aware by now, Fredonia is in the final stages of Deluxe Corp Small Business Revolution Competition. A Small Business Revolution Competition live stream event is scheduled for Tuesday, January 28th, 8 p.m. at the Fredonia Opera House. To address the limited size of the venue, we are planning to have screens brought in to simulcast the events on the stage outside to large screens for the gathered overflow crowd inside. In order to make this a fun celebration, we are formally asking for permission to close Church Street between Temple and Day from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Tuesday, January 28th. We will be bringing in a DJ to entertain the crowd. To help offset the cost of the event and to help fund the tremendously successful My Fredonia campaign, we plan to sell beer and soda at the event as well. We have spoken with Chief Maslock and he approved our plan. We have been working diligently to bring this opportunity to our beloved village. At this point, even if we do not win the vote, we still win, as this campaign has brought energy, cooperation, and national exposure to our village. Please approve our event plan. An insurance certificate covering the village is enclosed. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, Rich Ryan.
Thank you. Rich is here. Do we have any questions for Rich? Okay.
There was a second letter sent by Todd and Rich, dated the next day, that included that they were going to, in addition to the beer and the soda, they were going to provide hot cocoa and
that, because it seems like it's happening more and more when they come in the 12th hour and want approval, and then we're really circumventing our code. So somehow we should really address that down the road.
Well, we got this to
Stop that.
second.
I mean, this is kind of a special thing, a last minute event.
Waive it now.
Fire Festival never planned for, they probably planned it the day after the last one.
No, we started planning like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and the village board has the right, I believe, from our attorney, to correct me if I'm wrong, but can waive the fee and the application and stuff, I would think.
Attorney Gardner, do you have any comment on that?
Obviously, the board can, waive these things, and I'm not saying it's not appropriate, in addition to the fact that we had a tough timeline on this one. I would just caution the board saying, okay, everybody comes at the 12th hour, everybody wants a waiver. That's something to think about for the future. Maybe when we make some changes to the law, maybe we can figure out something. But, Chuck's right, everybody comes in at the 12th hour, wants waivers, wants exemptions. That's,
Well, again,
we're not really
this is kind of a
doing the law.
special circumstance. The festivals are
But
kind
it's
of.
gonna, it does set a
Can we-
precedent, though. It does, regardless if it's,
Yeah, but
short time,
it-
it sets a precedent.
Can we
You have to
add
say
in the
that.
resolution that this is a one-time thing? Only,
You can.
say that
You
this is
can.
a one-time special,
Right, but again, I
Designation.
understand the point of someone coming say, wanted to come to the Farm Festival at the last minute, but the Farm Festival plans well in advance and tries to get those permits in place. I know, it's not speaking for the Farm Festival, but you've been part of the board with me, I know that we've actually rejected vendors because they didn't get in their information prior to our deadline to get it to the village to be approved. So again, there is a small check and balance there.
Right.
So,
Have you written many MOAs over the last 7 years?
That set us up for
One of the
something that
standard
somebody come back.
boilerplate sentences was this is a non-binding, non-precedent setting. If we put something like that in there, is there
Right.
any legal,
We don't do that with local laws, I mean, the local law is supposed to apply to everybody.
but I mean, as far as this resolution, yeah.
As far as this resolution, if the board wants to make an exception, they have the power to do that. That's what we did, when I wrote the resolution originally, we gave the board, power to control. But with the idea that this wasn't gonna become like a regular thing.
looking over the resolution, there's no part of the resolution that requires this tonight. They're just asking for other things. So this is kind of a moot point right now.
I didn't write the resolution,
Right.
trustee Brits, I have no idea, I hadn't seen it before this morning.
Can somebody else come, that was denied before, come back at us now if we do this?
No, I don't think so.
I was asking the attorney.
Oh, sorry.
Theoretically, I mean, people that have been denied for the same thing would have a, you know, an argument. Whether it becomes a legal claim or not, I don't think so.
I mean, this is kind of a good cause for our entire region here. This isn't something that's,
I just want to make sure
no,
our
I
bases are
know,
covered.
I know. I'm just,
I'm fine with it as long as we can put some sort of caveat in there that this is a one-time special event.
The resolution only states the closing of streets. The waiving of the fee
Doesn't even
is
have,
not.
doesn't mention
It would have to
anything.
be.
Oh, it's not even, okay.
It would have to be an oral agreement,
Okay.
correct? Is that such a thing, an oral
It
oral
should be a
resolution?
Amendment to the resolution.
Okay.
Yeah,
But like I said, I didn't see this till this morning, so I can't tell you.
that we're waiving.
well, excuse me, well,
It should be a resolution that we're waiving the application fee and the background check for this.
wanna do that, definitely has to be a
Yes,
resolution.
it does.
What if other trucks want to roll in tomorrow too?
Right, exactly.
This is a big event and it may get out to, people may want to come in too. So, how do we do that?
The application applies to the one who's been contacted probably, or the waiver applies to that.
period.
Yeah,
That individual in that period.
yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any other discussion?
Well, do we need to amend this?
Yes.
Or you saying a total separate resolution to,
Who's doing beer and soda?
Beaver Plum?
The committee is doing the beer and soda.
That needed an application as well, a waiver?
It's not a food truck or anything like that,
Okay.
it's just a table.
But the waiver would apply to the open container law.
Right.
That's what we're talking about, really.
Right.
It's a separate section. We're dealing with food trucks, and we're also supposedly dealing with the open container law.
So is that
That's-
two
That would be
resolutions?
two things.
Yes, it is.
okay,
And
I'm
the
okay with
liquor,
it, but I want
and
to get the
the,
resolution done properly.
Yeah.
the
Okay.
open container requires a different set of, you know, criteria. There has to be a liquor license, there has to be, you know, a background check on that, there has to be a fee on that, there has to be the, you know, shown that these people have done this before. There are exemptions, but there are also requirements to that application that are separate and apart from anything we're doing food trucks. And that's what the board passed, what, about a year ago?
Yes, after lengthy discussion,
And after a lot of problems.
yes.
so
I don't know.
what would be the second motion to waive the fee? One separate motion to waive the fee and to waive the open container law, or is that already in this?
Mayor, I did not see it. Like I said, I didn't even get the agenda
Could
till
somebody,
this morning.
let's see,
It's just under correspondence, it's number 2.
To waive
Okay.
the open container law between Day Street and
okay,
Temple, I would say.
Right, that there's a special code section this board wrote for that provision. A special resolution and application and everything has to be passed for that. So that would be separate and apart from anything they wanted to do with food.
Yeah, we just said that, right?
yep.
So they would,
So how could we word that resolution to read?
how would they, would they have time to get that all done before?
Mayor, with the application and everything else, trying to do that on the fly orally this evening, I don't think we can.
Okay,
I mean, there are requirements. If the board's gonna follow what they passed, there are requirements that need more than just 30 seconds of contemplation and an oral resolution.
okay. So it's looking at this point, the alcohol is-
Would be difficult. I mean, if this thing is gonna be tomorrow, I
But we
would,
could just have soda, still have soda and hot chocolate.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I thought you said no.
What would it take to have?
Like I said, we got a separate law on that, we got a separate application process. I mean, unless we're gonna throw out everything that, you know, this board did with that.
And we spent a
We
lot
have
of
to
time
kinda
and
say
effort
no.
and energy on that. We were on the committee. It was a lot of,
Oh, absolutely.
you know.
You could give it away.
And that's fine, I mean. We intended to do this in donation basis anyway.
Can you do it?
What is it, you weren't set to sell.
We're not
There's more-
selling.
But no, the open container doesn't matter whether they're selling or giving away.
But if we pass the resolution waiving the open container law, and
That's
they're not
part of the
selling.
whole thing.
And like I said, the open container law is the issue. There's an application process this board has developed, there is a vetting process this board has developed to go to discuss it for 30 seconds and then try to do an oral resolution probably is gonna cause you
Let's
problems.
just do soda and hot chocolate. Can we do that? What do you think? No,
Discussion?
I like beer. I like beer. But we have a process and a procedure that,
BYOB. Can't do that either. Nope, can't do it.
With a week's notice, we just did not have time to go. through
Right,
the
I
process.
get
mean, we had
it.
1 week.
I think it's a
from
neat
the time
idea.
that Deluxe told us to this point.
yeah.
That's why we went on a donation basis, and we had to get planning we had 1 week.
Right,
That's
I
why
think it's a
we're-
great
we're
idea.
at
I
right
just,
now.
I know.
And if it doesn't get past, this open container thing, I can tell you that the street party atmosphere is not gonna be achieved, and that's what we're trying to do. I mean, it's such a simple thing here.
Any more discussion?
So if we had a workshop last Monday and this was brought before a workshop, we could have gotten our paperwork in time to get this to resolution?
Did you have the letters last
According to
week?
this letter, it wasn't even, it was after the workshop,
Okay.
so.
So, is it a moot point
Unfortunately, I don't
now?
think we're gonna be able to accommodate.
Well, there's an application. What does that take?
I mean,
you
we
fill
don't
one
even
out
have
today?
time to call a special meeting.
There really isn't time if we're gonna try to do this tomorrow, there just isn't. I mean, not to follow the rules and the laws this board has passed. I mean, if you guys wanna throw that out and take a chance, that's your right.
Are you
but-
talking the New York State Liquor Authority
I mean,
application?
these are all things that are, there is liability for the village, and we spent a lot of time on this. And as much as, I mean, I like beer too, and as much as I hate to say it, I just think this is too late, and we have denied other vendors in the past based on more notice than this. I mean, I know this is a Fredonia thing, but, we kinda gotta follow the
No
rules
to
too.
Everything or just the beer?
Just the beer.
Okay.
The food truck thing you guys can do tonight, everything else
Okay.
is fine. The open container law is more complicated, and it should be.
Any more discussion?
Just as the application, a village application or a state?
Yeah,
liquor?
village application. But you have to provide a state license in part of the village application.
Then we need a special meeting to approve it. If we put it through in the 11th hour. Yeah.
Or could we say pending the application being submitted?
Whose liquor license are you working on, Beaver Club?
Now we're getting a liquor license because we have
1 week. We're giving that on a donation basis, because we only had 1 week. There was
Can you
not
get
the
anybody with a
15-day
liquor
requirement.
license to sponsor it?
No.
Yeah, but liquor licenses are applicable to premises, right? They're not applicable to,
No, liquor licenses would be applicable to events. That's what that's what we've been doing all summer. And so, no,
and it takes
that's not
15
correct.
days to apply and get one, and we had 7, which is why we are going to give the beer out. The Beaver
So
Club's
basi-
license covers the Beaver Club premises.
Basically, what you're talking about is tapping a free keg in the commons, and that's illegal as Al heck.
We move the party up to the.
I mean, really?
I think it's a great idea, we just don't, I mean, I love
There's
it.
not
I think
enough
it sounds
time.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome, but I don't think we can do it. I hate to say that, but I just don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving forward, appointment of Zach Smith to the MEO operator at the Department of Public Works. Any comments? Any questions?
This position's been vacant for over a year, and then we had 4 applicants, and Tony sent in a letter of recommendation for this.
Did we skip over number 3?
Oh, yeah. sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll go back to number 3 in a minute here. Appointment, any other questions or comments on?
Again, there were 4 applicants for that position, and Tony's recommending Zachary Smith for that position. Is that correct, Tony?
And that's a promotion from Ladin that was posted for a while. So, good to go.
Okay, I apologize. Request for a liquor license 30-day waiver. Is there correspondence with that? Anne Marie, you can read, please.
Find it real quick here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I have a question in regard to that.
Which,
The 30-day waiver.
okay.
I mean, Do we know when this business is ready to open?
We know, what was the question again?
Do we know when the business is ready to open? I'm just wondering about why we need a 30-day waiver and what are the legal ramifications for us to waiver this 30 days? I understand that it expedites the liquor license process, but does it need to expedite the liquor license process? Because looking at the outside of the building, I'm not sure how soon that business is gonna open.
Is this the old caboose?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
So I'm not sure why we're waiving that, that 30-day waiver. This is the second one we would have done in 2 weeks.
No, I think the first one was Sonny's renewal.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
This would be the second one.
Right, this is a new business.
Yeah, I
Right,
get that, but why the 30-day?
I thought they were planning April, but I haven't talked to the contractor and developer.
So we can
As of
table
lately,
this.
maybe they moved it up, but they haven't talked to me about anything, so.
But I mean, they could
They're
apply.
still working inside.
Right. They could apply for a liquor license now without the 30-day waiver and still get the license when they open. I want to know what the ramifications is to the village to grant a waiver. What does it do, other than expedite the license, and is that necessary?
Could you speak on that, Attorney Guard, a little more in depth?
Really, like we talked about last time, it's very customary for local municipalities to grant the 30-day, that 30-day waiver. Just makes things cleaner, and if the village does not want to oppose, okay, the village as the local, municipality has the absolute right to oppose, all right? Usually, the ABC authority agrees with us, and they listen to us. 99% of the time, municipalities grant the waiver just because it's unnecessary if you're not going to oppose it. If you don't need 30 days to think about it, if you don't need 30 days for public comment on it, we just dispense with that. Liquor licenses are very complicated to begin with. There's a lot that goes into that, and it just kind of takes away one more step for local businesses. But if you don't want to, and they're not going to open until April, it's certainly your right.
But a letter of support would do the same thing with the
No.
the ABC board?
No, absolutely not. This is a specific legal waiver that we would offer. That would not be the same as a letter of support.
Can we wait to do this?
Well,
Should we wait?
This seems
I don't know why you want to hold it.
standard boilerplate,
I don't know.
probably unless it's a kind of establishment
Unless
that's,
there's an
that
issue.
keeps the police busy all the time because there's always problems.
Unless there's an issue.
Yeah.
This is fairly standard for local business, yes.
Yeah,
Whether
we
you're in
have to ask
Dunkirk,
many
Fredonia,
times.
Silver
I
Creek,
agree with Roger.
Tahoe, whatever, generally we do this.
There's such a hurry.
It was a business, it's been since it was built, it was a bar. It sounds like it's gonna be more of a restaurant bar, so I don't have a problem waiving it.
I don't have a problem. I think that's that'll be a great addition to the village. I just wondered what the continued waiver, you've answered some of it, but if it expedites things, I just wondered when the business was gonna be.
I think what you said is if we don't need 30 days to think about it, then.
Right. If it acts as an approval, okay.
It's not even an approval, it's more of a step out of the way.
Typically, New York State makes them come back to the municipality for a letter for zoning to make sure that they're zoned properly and in compliance. I have not yet to do that. I'm just wondering if maybe one of the owners is a bar owner, and maybe he's just jumping the gun. I don't know, to get it done. But for years, New York State makes them come back, and part of their application is to get certificate of occupancy, a letter from the code enforcement officer saying that they are zoned properly, they can be a bar. And nobody's come in for me for that yet at all.
Does this waiver
No,
exclude
there's a
you?
waiver. No, I just think possibly one of the bar owners knows that there's a waiver, and that's what he's doing. But it still doesn't circumvent, because there's still an application that would have to be done to New York State for their liquor license. And in that application, you need to comply with A, B, and C. And A, B, and C is getting code enforcement approval, getting a certificate of occupancy, things like that. And we're not nowhere near getting a certificate of occupancy yet, so that's it.
Any other discussion? Okay. Request from Police Chief Phil Maslock to hire part-time police officer Travis Hansen. Discussion, please.
Chief, you wanna talk to that, or?
Travis has worked previously with us. We're currently short a part-timer with the hiring of Officer Hand with him last week or the week before, from part-time to full-time, we're down a part-timer. It just helps in scheduling to have an additional part-timer because a lot of the part-timers are unavailable to work during the week because of their other jobs, being that they work for the Sheriff's Department or other agencies. He was a good employee when he was here. He left temporary to try another job. And he called me and was interested in the job.
He left in June of 2019.
Late last year, I think it was August. Working for the state DOT. And apparently he's not too fond of that.
Phil, do you think our wages for part-time employees should be increased to maintain the part-time employees here instead of going part-time employment somewhere else?
It absolutely would help with retention of those employees. I mean, when we have, fast food workers making close to what they're making coming in here through the door, it's an obvious.
Is that something you could recommend to the board here sometime?
I'd like to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd like to do some comparisons around too. Yeah. I would just like to mention here that for future hires in any department, I think it's going to be important for the board to see qualifications, credentials, resumes, what they've been doing for the last, is he here? He's not here. A face to go with the position. Those things that should take place prior to an appointment. I understand that things moved along real quick, but I think that we need to vet people that we're hiring a little bit closer than, he used to be here, he's back, and we want him again.
And I totally understand that. With
Okay.
my recent appointment, I'm trying to get out from behind the 8 ball.
I get that.
Running and
I get
keep
that.
overtime down to a minimum.
I'm fine with that. I appreciate that, thank you.
You okay with that
Yes,
resolution tonight now?
yes, as long as we know that in future, we need to vet a little bit stronger than we have been.
Next on the agenda, hiring of Jerry Falco as a consultant for the village.
It was just an email from Tony.
I'm gonna repeat what I just said, that I understand his credentials, I spoke with Tony, I think he's highly qualified. Is he here? Jerry? Is Jerry here? He certainly has a heck of a lot of experience. At that rate of pay, for those hours, we have to be very careful as start and end date. So it's not an ad infinitum position that ends up staying here on the books for 5 years and we didn't notice.
And as I mentioned to you all earlier, two things I know for sure. He's enjoying retirement greatly. He's doing us more as a favor to the village.
Good, thank you.
And to our plant, and to all of us. And secondarily, if you were concerned with a finite amount of time, then you could easily link this to what the engineer lined out at the pre-bid construction meeting, where they said the timeline on their project, they have a theoretical drop dead date of, I think it's in November.
Trustee
You could just link it to that as closure date.
I think that Trustee Pace has indicated that there was an amount, a ceiling amount that we
Yeah,
could
I put
reach.
that on. You must not have
That
grabbed
should
it,
be
though.
added to the resolution.
On that handwritten one I gave you. Because we had talked about capping it at 1,500, and if we needed more, we could.
15,000.
Or 15,000,
Yep.
and if we needed more, we could amend it.
I guess, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You probably couldn't read my writing. And writing is a big compliment for what I do.
So we could add that to the resolution.
He starts when the project starts? Is that how we're gonna word it?
He only has to start, well, he'll start when the actual construction at the water filtration plant takes place. His main focus is going to be up there assisting with the development of the upgrades for the plant. And that will be determined upon when the contractors are actually let loose to start that part of the work. we have to do the Vineyard Drive pump station first. We can do some of the work at the water plant, but we can't shut down the plant, 50% of the plant, till we have our interconnect upgraded with Dunkirk. So that's a flexible start time, on when he can really should be up there to help Chris and the guys. But
So when we talked about this earlier, when we did the math, you did the math, it looked like maximum maybe 21,000, somewhere around there. So we talked about maybe starting off not to exceed 15,000, and then as it progresses, and if we need more. So if you want, you're gonna read this, if you wanna add after 10 to 15 hours per week, not to exceed 15,000, if everybody's okay with that.
And knowing Jerry, he'll probably be up there for many free hours anyway, because he's that passionate about these things.
How do we track his time? Does he have any way of, how do we?
Jim Sedona and I mentioned to him that he should probably submit a time sheet every week to the village hall, and then our hope also is down the road that we could possibly get reimbursed for any out-of-pocket expenditures through the funding agency, like we did with my time for the past waterline project, the time I spent supervising or overseeing or liaisoning. But at the very least, I totally agree with a finite time frame on this and a maximum,
And who will
dollars.
supervise him?
Pardon me?
Who will supervise him, Chris?
Chris, pretty much, me, Chris and I.
I think we need to clarify that as well.
And here, and to be supervised by our plant supervisor
Under
and
the
our.
su- under the
Chris,
supervision of
yes.
Chris Sermon.
What's your last name? I'm sorry.
Tony, did you know?
Terrible chicken scratch. Plop it down somewhere.
Any other comments, concerns?
One other question for Tony.
Sure.
As a consultant, are they required to carry any kind of insurance or bond? I mean, obviously, they're gonna be a supervisor of a project. What if they?
Basically working as a 1099 contractor. He's already got all the licenses and certifications. So at that point, he would be, I think, covered from what he's done in the past with other plants like Dunkirk's. He did the same thing in Dunkirk for the last 4 years. I mean, Dan could further check that out, but I think we're compliant right now.
I'm just curious, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, I'll start with that one. ESI renewal agreement. Any comments or questions?
I have some questions. I'm sorry, I keep
Nope.
dragging. This is how I learn. I'm new. I gotta
That's what
learn.
we're here for.
The CSI renewal agreement, couple of questions. First of all, is that contractually required?
I have the same question, because it says we're responsible to provide. I'm
Yes.
wondering why that
How
is.
are we responsible to provide it? Is it something that negotiated and is part of the contracts with our employees?
Our union require it, or our employees, or policy, Dan? You brought this forth at the last meeting, or last year, and this is just a renewal of this?
Right.
The EAP services are something that we are required by contract to offer, but it offers a variety of services. We usually only required, the drug and alcohol counseling, marriage counseling, things like that. This outfit really cost effectively provides a lot of services for a lot of people. Everything from financial counseling to, other types of addiction to just, I just can't take it anymore type counseling. It's an excellent program. We did shop it out 2 years ago. This was the best provider we could find, and they do provide us with monthly reports for usage, which are confidential, but I'd be happy to let you know what we are using it for.
Curious to see those monthly reports. That was my other question as to the usage. I don't care who's using it or how. I don't want to know that. I just want to know if we're using it.
I can answer
We
that
are.
question. I spoke with Michelle this morning regarding this outfit, and I did asked her a few questions myself. One of the questions I had is, out of the 87 employees we have in the village over the period of last year using this service, we do get a monthly statement, or at least a brief outline of what was used. And according to the one I have, out of the 87 employees, one employee did use it for a stress management program.
Well, and see, and those are the things that I question. We have to provide it, but can we provide it on a per diem situation instead of a contractual agreement for the $3,500 a year for one employee? I mean, if we have found that an employee or employees are seeking assistance for whatever, I know that there are other entities that we can hire on a as-needed or per diem basis. Is that more cost-effective to us rather than a blanket? I get that, I read that they offer a lot of services, but $3,500 for one employee doesn't seem.
Well,
That
again,
is a service we are legally required to provide.
But it doesn't have to be in this format.
It does
could
not have
per
to be with
diem.
these individuals, but these are the
Right.
individuals, when we looked at it, these were the best providers. And they did get we did an RFP at that time. So this would be,
Yeah, and it's up for renewal at this point, right?
that's correct.
To answer another one of your questions, obviously I've been asking the same questions. And, again, if you look at the cost of this program, based on the services it provides, Michelle even admitted that they do provide a constant flow of information on a regular basis. What I would like to see them do is possibly have a little bit more interaction with our employees, other than just being a phone call.
Do our employees know what they
Yeah,
provide?
Michelle does send out notifications and inserts. I mean, this is considered,
Good.
they send us these mailers and it's distributed to our employees, so it's available. And if you do look at the chart, and I can give you a copy of that report, that monthly report, that one employee used this service 5 times.
Yeah.
So again, it may pay for itself in that
Sure.
service based on a consulting fee that they
Sure.
may have paid out of pocket to another firm.
That very well
So
could
again,
be.
I'm not trying to sell one or the other,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we did our homework a little bit on this. And
Yeah, I just think we need to watch the usage thing, and, we can review it when it comes up for renewal next year.
the other part I have an issue
Mid-year?
with, this is a vendor, okay? We are going into a contract with a vendor.
Right.
If, for instance, someone utilizes a service, and they do offer quite a few things, and if you read through it, there's a benefit assistance to memberships that include everything from legal, financial, caregiver, adoption, special need, personal assistance, tools for tough times, there's even pet help. You literally, if you had a problem with your pet, you could call this company and they will walk you through it. So my issue was, being a legal vendor of ours, if, for instance, they gave them bad legal advice and something were to happen, we're actually on the hook for this, am I not right?
No, they would have insurance for any advice
But
they would
again,
give.
they could.
That would be separate and apart from the Village of Fredonia. So we would have no liability for the
So
service that they
if
offer.
Fluffy gets sick and I can sue,
Sue them.
So, is this the same price as last year?
I don't, Anne Marie,
I believe it's,
I believe it is.
it's the renewal.
Because if you look
Let's just
under
watch it.
fees and payment of last year, it said, fees and payment on the last page, it says, flat rate listed above covers a census of 51 to 100. Is that our employee?
That is.
yeah, we
Okay,
50, 87.
Okay. Trauma response is available at $250 an hour. DOT required substance abuse evaluation, $850 each. So those 2 things aren't covered? That's above and beyond?
Yes.
Okay, those would be special things, for example, like the shooting we had last year. If you wanted them to come and set up something special.
Okay.
Then you would pay that additional. But for any of our employees that had an issue with that, they did call. I do look at the monthly reports. I can tell you that I know that at least I've spoken to employees that tell me they're using the service on a confidential basis that does not appear in the monthly reports. So I'm not sure the monthly reports are really accurate in terms of usage, or if that's just like, okay, you're gonna open a file for me, as opposed to I just call and ask you a question.
Who do we use for our DOT, or if we have to do a random drug test, who do we use now?
I don't know off the top of my head,
Yeah,
Trustee.
Tony left, so I didn't get a chance to ask him.
Is there any out-of-pocket cost to any employee for any of these services, do you know?
For the EAP?
Yeah.
No, as long, it's like another insurance, as long as it's covered under the EAP program. Now, some like drug and alcohol treatment that would start with here, but then it would be covered under health insurance we provide.
Okay.
So, it's not that easy of an answer, but basically there wouldn't be no cost to the employee.
I mean, we have employees under high-stress jobs, especially fire and police.
Absolutely.
But, everybody goes through stuff in their personal life, so, to provide this, I think, is a good thing.
If I might offer something, I mean, the Village of Fredonia had let their contract for EAP services lapse. It was a mistake, it was an oversight. All of our people are very self-sufficient, and nobody's pets were in emotional difficulty. Then we had a serious situation. where we were legally required to provide counseling for these people, to provide services for these people, and we had no service to provide. This company stepped up and provided services to the village employees without cost, even before they had their original contract. So, and without going into specifics, this company has done right by the village of Fredonia.
The only other thing I would recommend also, and Eva, you can, Trustee Bashaw, you can agree with me on this one, a little bit more detail in the resolution, I think would be more appropriate. It would identify what EAP stands for and the location of where their offices are located.
And that we're obligated to provide the services, as, you know, I think that it's important that this isn't a contractual negotiable item.
So you're gonna be reading this?
Provided to employees.
I guess so.
You just need to put a little more detail in the resolution.
Who's reading that, me?
Huh?
I'm reading it.
Roger reading it.
Okay, Roger. EAP's in the first sentence. Employee
Yeah, I know,
assistance program.
yeah.
Yeah, but again, this should be, you know, where are they located out of such and such a,
Wellsville, right? They're out of Wellsville?
yeah.
This is just a renewal. I did not write this resolution.
Are we gonna put a little more detail into this, or read it as is?
I would ask for just a little more detail. Just at least the address of the company in case that.
Do we
you know-
have it?
Yeah, it's right here on the,
55 Chamberlain Street, Wellsville, New York?
yes,
Okay, any other
it's on their invoice.
Any other comments or questions? Number 8, New York State and local retirement standard workday resolution. Something that,
Mayor, I'd ask, could we table this one for the next meeting? I was trying to go over it with personnel, and I just didn't have time. We put together a bunch of other things at the last minute.
Okay.
If we can just table this one for the next meeting, I'd appreciate it. I just want to make sure it's absolutely legally correct, because we do have to post it downstairs for 30 days, and then we have to file it with the state.
okay. Any comments on that? Table it, any problem?
You're
Okay.
reading it, you'll need to table it.
So do I read it, or do I just say?
Yeah,
motion
if you want to
table?
read it, just, then, if you want to read it, and then just say motion to table, if we, then whoever wants to make that motion.
Okay.
Number 9, special hiring committee appointments. Any comments?
Special committee appointments, yes. Talked a bit about that. The committee appointments, special committee appointments, should be clearly defined with an objective and a timeframe. There's none of that on here associated with that. We also have a resolution for today to change what is the interview committee to a hiring committee. And also you have, you should separate them out from what is liaisons to what is actual committees, that type of thing. But like I said, what we have is.
How's it been done in the past?
Basically, what I did with my committee appointments, both standing and subcommittees, was take a hybrid of what was done in this past administration and in previous administrations. But I reconsidered that. I looked at our charter, and our charter is very specific on the standing committee appointments. Per our charter, Chapter 63, Rules of Order, Section 63-1, subsection B, Committees 1. I followed the charter.
So the standing committees, you neglected to put in sewer.
Okay, well, like I just said, I redid this here, so we got number 1, Police Department, Roger Pecos, Eva Dawn Bashaw, Streets and Sidewalks, Jim Linden, Kara Christina, Finance, Roger Britz, Roger Pecos, Public Buildings, Jim Linden, Kara Christina, Fire and Water, Roger Britz, Roger Pecos, Insurance, Jim Linden, Eva Dawn Bashaw, Parks and Recreation, Kara Christina, Eva Dawn Bashaw, Zoning and Planning, Jim Linden, Kara Christina, Lighting, Jim Linden, Eva Dawn Bashaw, Personnel, Roger Pecos, Eva Dawn Bashaw, Sewers, Jim Linden, Kara Christina. And that's exactly per our charter.
That's not on
Sewers wasn't on there.
The sewers wasn't on there.
Sewer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But that's
Okay.
good.
But,
I'd like to say that I I really appreciate the fact that you've reconsidered this. I think that you put some thought into this. I think that these standing committees that are in alignment with the charter are well thought out, and I appreciate you taking the time to redo them. And I think that they'll work in the best interest of the standing committees.
Yes.
Thank you very much for doing it.
You're welcome. And as far as the subcommittees, I did not, I can get more in detail of the timelines and so forth. I didn't realize, I can do that. And then what your purpose for these subcommittees
Right,
would
because
be.
when we, my question just was when we did the one for the, the alcohol in the park, it was
Specifically.
very specific, so maybe that would be helpful.
Yes, I
think.
will.
Do you want, should we
Well, I
table
mean,
this and redo
well,
it, or?
no, I mean, how much, interview committee, cable TV, I mean, cable TV, you were already on before.
Right,
Kara
I
Christina
appreciate you
Chimlinden,
putting me on.
Code
But
enforcement.
and-
These aren't, I mean, these committees here, these subcommittees aren't specific to a specific purpose. Code enforcement, okay,
Right,
community engagement,
I
trustee claims auditor, we already have that currently. Town of Pomfret liaison, library
what
liaison,
is the
Chamber
cla-
of Commerce, I'm speaking, please. Chamber of Commerce liaison, Festivals Fredonia liaison, Opera House liaison, SUNY Fredonia liaison, and I added a Citizens Advisory Committee liaison. You're correct, I did not specifically do any specific purposes yet, I will.
Doug, is it possible to divide out those that are actual committees and those that are actual liaisons? They seem to be different in my mind. You have the last
I see what you're saying.
5 are
Liaisons.
liaisons.
That's
that
what
they're
I was trying,
Okay.
that's what I was trying to
Okay.
say earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, and that they could be, they're not really considered special committees.
they're just liaisons.
Appoint, right.
Okay.
So can we
That
just,
might help.
can we just table that resolution and give the
I
mayor
don't
time
see
to
it. Do we
redo
need
it, or
to
no,
see
or,
some-
I don't know.
I could just,
We don't need a resolution.
Right, so we don't.
no,
need a
this is an
resolution.
appointment.
Yeah,
I
this
just,
is-
Okay.
I will come back with,
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
more specific on the liaisons
Yeah,
and what your
and there's
duties would
special
be.
committees and, yeah.
But that
and
would
what
be
your
appropriate.
goal
And we
is.
have the Personnel Committee as your standard standing committee, and we also have the Interview Committee. It's almost, because we have someone in the HR department now, the assistant to doing that, it's almost redundant, having the Interview Committee. I don't know if you want to, we have the ability to eliminate the Personnel Committee and then have the Interview Committee, because we have a department for that. If that
No,
would be
because if you look
considerable.
if you look at the
considered
civil
anyhow.
service requirements, for a personnel assistant, it has nothing to do with interviewing. They do the paperwork, all
Right,
the
that's
clerk
what I-
work.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's
Yeah.
definitely a difference.
And plus, you're talking of somebody who's in a union, you're gonna have them negotiating.
Right.
They'd have to quit their union, so I would be opposed to
So keep the
that
two.
resolution.
Me too.
Yeah.
So keep the Personnel and an Interview Committee
Separate.
separate.
And that's also part of, I mean, the Personnel Committee is part of the charter as a standing committee. You don't want to change that at this point either.
That's correct. I went exactly per.
Right, for the charter.
Exactly at the
And then I
charter.
was, as far as the Interview Committee, the idea that,
I'm just letting you see.
the idea that we have the Personnel Department, the Human Resources Department, I would think that person would be on the hiring committee. I did make that recommendation.
that just a second.
Could you repeat that, please?
The HR person is
HR
on the
person
hiring
would be on the hiring committee.
Is that typical? Is that, I don't know.
Well, what
Because she has all the information.
Historically, that, I don't know if it's ever happened before.
Probably because we've never really had.
never had
HR
that.
never
person
had that.
before.
If you
Well, we have
had an
advantageous to
HR
do so.
director, maybe they would be, but this is a personnel assistant. And if
Right.
you read the civil service description, it talks about clerical work, and basically, once the person is hired, taking it from there, making sure all their paperwork's in, making sure, and even for the hiring process, making sure they have the proper certifications and giving that to the interview committee.
So per the job description, it is not in the job description is what you were saying.
That is what I'm saying.
So are we eliminating this one as well?
We're eliminating the next one, I
Both of
think.
them. Okay.
Hold on.
I have a question for trustee Britz. Back in the day, when I was a liaison to the chamber, maybe I'm not remembering this correctly, but as the liaison, are you a voting member of the board of?
Yes.
Yes, I thought you were. And so are you, is that the same with the liaisons with the other, like, Festivals Fredonia? Are you a voting member of that body as well?
Yeah.
And the Opera House with Roger, does he become a voting member of the Opera House board as a liaison from the village? No?
Do not.
Well, then I'm not doing it.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I will.
And then the Fredonia, I just want to clarify here, because it has a wide variety of, sometimes as a liaison, you're a voting member of this entity. And that makes a big difference as if you're just sitting there and with some input. But I don't know how we would differentiate. The library liaison, do you sit on the board at the library? Do you have a vote with that?
I've been on that committee. I don't have a vote. I would attend
you
meetings.
You attend the meetings.
Yes, as a guest.
Same thing with the town of Pomfret. I know you're going to attend the meetings, but
That's correct.
there are some things here that you actually are a member, a voting member of that, which
Entity.
makes it interesting. And I don't know how to differentiate that, but it's different.
Do you see a problem or just you're bringing it up?
I don't know if it's a problem. I mean, when you vote, are you voting as trustee Brits, as a representative of the village, or are you just voting because the village said, you go be on this board and, serve
You mean,
us?
you mean when I'm sitting on the board of directors for the festival?
Or the chamber or something?
Well,
Are you
when I'm on the
representing?
board of directors for the festivals, I vote
Right.
for the issues that are brought forth. It has nothing to do with the village, but
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But when there's a village, resolution brought forth regarding a festival,
Yeah,
I will sponsor
Right.
that resolution because I feel comfortable enough putting that resolution on the table because I was at the meeting and understand the concerns and needs of that festival. Or
Right.
that board.
My question was, is that when you vote at the chamber and at the festivals, are you voting?
As a representative of the village or the board?
Yes.
Right, the board.
Okay, so you've just been
I'm an
voting to
active
the
member
board.
of that
Okay.
board.
Maybe we should make that different than that liaison. I'm not sure. Appointment to the chamber.
Well,
of
Carol
Commerce,
was appointed to the chamber for years,
Yeah.
and you weren't an active member of the board, were you? You were just somebody that,
No, I
don't know.
I was actually sworn in as a member
So
of the
again,
board.
you were an
so-
active member of the board.
Yeah.
And so was I.
Right.
But I thought that we were appointed to serve on the chamber,
But not be a member
but,
of the actual board.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it was designed, my dad explained this also, you were designed as a middleman between the committees and
Right.
bring information back to the board for discussion.
Right.
So if the festival said, hey, we'd like the village to be involved, you were that person that was the middle person to inform the
I
rest of
get
the board.
that. I
But
get
I
that.
just happened to be part of the board, so it
Okay.
made it convenient
Right.
that I'm there anyway.
So whether you were a trustee or not, you'd be on the
I'd still
chamber
be on the
and
board.
you'd be on the festival.
Exactly,
Okay.
because I love being on all these boards. Ask my wife.
Any other?
The other thing I'd like to add, Mayor, I know with the increased, over the years, social media has increased, not only with our web pages or, obviously with the small business revolution, social media was a big push for us. I would like to see, we talked to a resident of the village just recently regarding upgrading our websites. Is there any chance that we can involve that portion or web, I don't know how to put it, social media platforms as part of a subcommittee under the Cable TV and Communications Board and allow them to maybe help develop a more current web and more current update of our, I'm just making a suggestion. I'm talking out loud as a workshop here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would be the purview of the cable board, but it's not a bad idea
But
to
you're in
maybe make that as a
communication, my
committee.
thought was you're in communication, it's part of this, Dave, you're on the board. Free to answer, I
Maybe
mean, I'd like to see,
engagement?
not maybe a subcommittee of a
IT.
trustee trying to develop a web that, but you guys are involved in some social media aspects of it, and I thought maybe that would be an opportunity for you to bring something forth to the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be something done like that. I'm not sure of all the legal ramifications, it's always tricky when anybody who's not officially part of the government is representing them. You know what I mean?
Right, well, we'd have obviously a trustee be part of the cable board that would maybe be part of that process. I'm just throwing it out there.
Sure, I mean, I think it'd be very helpful.
Well, Jim and I are also, we're both on community engagement and cable, so maybe we could sort of,
That's kind of where I was
Put
going
that
with it.
together somehow.
Add that social media aspect to that subcommittee.
that would definitely be community engagement, I
Okay.
think.
All right.
I have a question for you on that. The board members that are on the cable board are members regarding the cable board operations and the decisions of the cable board. You're sounding like you're asking for the cable board to become the web.
I think it's more social media than than the website. I think the idea is more social media.
I was kind of going with the social media aspect, is developing
So-
more of a,
So you're adding more, so you'd have to change part of the charter, at least within the cable board, because the cable board members are not part of that. They're not.
Or create a resolution to assign a committee.
Yes, you'd have to, I mean, I don't know if you can get any response to that, Mr. Chairman, how that, regarding the cable board and
Well, the cable board has certain powers and duties according to the charter. Whatever else that they're asked to do, or whatever special committee is asked to do, would be up to the board, the mayor.
I'm just, like I said, I was just trying to think of a way to kind of get this ball rolling a little bit more. I mean, it's something we need to upgrade.
Yes, well, if it could be covered under that, or if somebody would come up with a special committee specifically for that. Bring it to the next meeting,
Then we can
please.
talk about it.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So do we cover the request to amend the standing committee appointments?
I think so.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Did we cover number 9 too?
Yes.
Yes,
Does that remove some resolutions, correct?
Which ones? Was it?
9 and 10. Did we cover them?
Yes, we covered them.
So this,
Yeah, so it removes some resolutions.
is that
out
this
of
one
that.
too?
9 and 10, yes, these two.
Okay. All right, number 11, department head meetings.
I'd like to maybe, when I read this over, I thought maybe we could come to some sort of a, I don't know, an understanding. The department heads were meeting during the day, right, in the morning or something like that. I haven't talked to any of them, so I don't know how they would feel about it or how you would feel about it, but I wouldn't have a problem, I don't know if everybody else may be doing, instead of every week.
I don't think it's every week, it's once a month.
Is it every, oh, okay, I thought they were meeting every week.
No,
It's just a once-a-month
it's
thing?
once a month. What I had asked at our last department head meeting at 4 o'clock, I asked the department heads, and they didn't have any problem with it.
I
I
don't
said
have a
if we could meet once every other month at 4 o'clock, and the other months you meet at your regularly scheduled time, there was no discussion or no problem there. I mean, I see department heads here right now. Who has, was there a,
No one isn't.
I forgot what the resolution stated, but some kind of, was there any issues meeting every other month at 4 o'clock?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Anybody here?
Okay, who wrote tonight's resolution? Jim Linden and Kara
I'm
are
okay with,
sponsoring.
if that works for everybody, I'm fine with that. We don't need to,
Well, I'm just
I don't know
saying,
what you want to say,
I mean, they
Jim.
wrote the resolution, it's.
Or hardships, I guess.
They
I
also
didn't-
said a majority of the DPW, or the village employee department heads work from 7 to 3 PM. Tony left, I don't, and I know,
I would just,
fire chief, is he still here? He left.
yes, no. You're normally 7 to 3,
7 to 3 are your normal working hours?
but normally your day shift is 7 to 3, so that doesn't
So
apply
that
to, doesn't apply to the
Consist of a
majority
majority?
of.
I think if they're in agreement, we don't need this.
Right, I was thinking
Yeah,
they
but
were
he
meeting every, I
works
thought they
9
were,
to 5.
at first I thought they were meeting every week, and then I realized no, so.
The idea was that, they wanted, the department heads to work, during the full shift, and that they would have to be called in extra. I know in other communities, they actually pay them more to be in, to come in extra after hours. But they're asking them to come in, which is something they didn't do before. And this has to do with because of your schedule and has no.
No, it has nothing to do with,
Well, it does,
this is
actually.
political. No, Jim, this isn't.
Well,
Don't make this political,
But
please.
it's not political, Doug. It's because of your schedule that you can't meet with them during the day. And you're also asking, you've also asked during the last department head meeting, is my understanding, to have the treasurer meet on the opposite month. So you're going every other month. one in the afternoon, one in the morning at 10 a.m. And you ask the treasurer to oversee that, which is a transfer of power. And that shouldn't be done either. So I'm just asking you, as far as how do you plan to handle your department heads, or even during the daytime? How do you?
They call me on the phone, Jim. I have a phone on my hip. If there's an emergency, they call me.
So you address village work while you're at your other job?
No, I do not.
Well, again, let's go back to the resolution.
So the resolution, but anyhow.
Jim,
so
read the resolution out loud so we can understand what you were trying to accomplish here.
Okay, first of all, none of the department heads have a hardship here. I've spoke at our last meeting, and none of them contacted you to write this resolution, so I'm not really sure why this resolution is written, Jim. But go ahead, read it over, please.
Whereas the majority of the village's department heads worked from 7 to 3 p.m. And whereas.
Well, they don't. You have 2 that we know of, right?
It's 4 actually that do.
That work from 7 to 3?
Right, that's
Okay, and you've spoken to all 4 of them?
I've had communication through that related that to me, yes.
Okay, all right, well, go ahead, continue reading.
Whereas beginning required meetings after the regular work schedule day creates a hardship for these individuals, and that's, I believe it does. The village charter, section 1522, empowers the board to direct the time and manner in which such officers or persons shall perform their respective duties. Now be it therefore resolved, with the exception of regular scheduled board meetings, no department head shall be required to attend meetings after 3 p.m. So that, I mean, they're coming to this, and then, so they shouldn't, unless it's an emergency, which they would normally do, they would always,
I thought it was every week,
No,
but now
okay.
that if it's
Okay.
just once a month, I
It's
don't
once
have a
a month.
problem with
And
that
at
at
our
all.
last department head meeting, Jim, the department heads had no problem meeting 1 month in the morning and the following month in the afternoon.
And don't the departments have the freedom that if they're coming in late, that they come in later in the morning? Don't they have some freedom towards
They could
that?
absolutely do that.
That's the fire chief, he's sitting right there, I mean.
Is this a hardship for you?
I have several meetings that I have to attend in the evening.
There you go.
So
Okay.
what you just said.
You just juggle.
I juggle.
Yeah, I don't
Sure.
want it to be
Yeah.
a burden, but I think
don't
it should be
either.
workable for
No,
everybody.
it's not gonna be a burden.
Shouldn't
Plus,
be a
what we
burden.
got to realize is our department has our salary, they're not hourly.
Right.
And
But that's, we shouldn't abuse them.
that's not abuse, Jim.
I have a question about you do meet with them once a month. You intend to meet with them once a month? Is that right? Did I hear?
Every other month in
he-
the afternoon, but I can meet with them individually anytime I can.
He intends to meet with them every other month, but it has directed the treasurer to meet with them on
To
the
assist
opposite-
me in meeting with them.
Which is another issue.
No, it's not transfer of powers there. I'm
Sure it
not
is.
transferring, that's not a power, Jim.
Well, I'm
Just
not
a-
sure why
treasurer
the
doesn't have any-
treasurer
would have any
meet with
authority
the
to do that.
department heads.
He's assisting with the day-to-day operations, Jim is currently.
Jim is-
Treasurer?
He's assisting with day-to-day operations
Currently.
that currently take place because we do not have an administrator position.
That's
That's-
right.
that's
But
Pat-
the treasurer isn't responsible. Why isn't even the clerk doing that then? Why do we choose one over the other?
Actually, Anne Marie does assist me as well. They both assist me.
The treasurer doesn't have that job description, and it would be a transfer of power to ask the treasurer to do administrative duties during the day. He's got his own job to do. He needs to make sure he focuses on his own position of being the treasurer.
Well, I think more importantly, Jim, is that the treasurer is a department head himself.
He is.
And it should be treated as a department head and not sit above the department heads to lead meetings. The treasurer is a department head.
Well, he's basically my liaison to be there and
The board, you can't
Yeah,
appoint,
I don't know how that
you can't
Okay.
appoint a department head to be a liaison for yourself without approval of the board.
If you could just meet with them every month.
That would take a referendum to do so.
Department head meeting, correct? Under your job
I don't
description,
think that
Ann,
a
could you-
department head can run a department head meeting. You know,
Okay.
I think a meeting
I
of
think
department heads.
Ann could run a department head
These
meeting
guys
if we
could.
needed her to.
I mean, any one of us could.
Okay. Well, if anyone's available then, okay. I would.
We
then
could
I would-
rotate, you know what? It would be nice if we all rotated. And every one of us as a trustee met with a department head on the months that you're not.
That would make sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few things to say in regards to this here. I attended the recent State of the State address in Dunkirk a few weeks ago. Our Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, said that the election is over and it's time to put these politics aside. I agree with her. I'm trying to build better relationships with our surrounding municipalities. Just this past weekend, myself, Trustee Roger Britz, and our wives, along with Senator George Borrello and his wife, spent some time with Dunkirk Mayor Willie Rosas and his wife. We listened to a few bands and had some good time to get to know each other. Comments on Facebook where I posted a picture of the evening were on the right track, the way it should be, all for one and one for all. Love this, our community is working together, and many more. This showed that our community is behind us, working together with other municipalities as well as each other. In the recent weeks, Fredonia has been able to go forward, and we are collaborating. The small business revolution is proof positive that different people can work together towards a common goal. Although we do not know the outcome yet, I feel we have already won. We have overcome many hurdles of our past by working on a project together without the politics. We have shown that collaboration and cooperation by many is possible. Village residents have been overall pleased with what they have seen, and the bar is set for us to meet as a village board. Sadly, this board is still divided. The notion to bring back the previous mayor, who by the way left office with no transition to the new administration, not even a piece of paper in the files for any of the outstanding projects, is no attempt to putting the politics behind us. Transition to the former administration to a current was less than desirable. To my knowledge, this has never occurred in Fredonia. Fredonians have spoken that they want the bickering to stop. Believe it would not be in the best interest for this committee proposed placement. We need to move forward. This board needs to work together to do the work that needs to be done for our village, regardless of party affiliation. That is what is expected of us. I attended the recent Martin Luther King luncheon in Dunkirk last week, and the theme of the program was, "Who are you serving?" I might ask that each of us consider who it is that we are serving in our positions here in the village. We are not serving a party or a person. Instead, we are serving the people of this village, each and every one of them, regardless if they agree with us or not. I would like to add the question, who are you serving? The question I would like you to consider is, why are you serving? I would like you to consider this. Enough said. It's time to move on. And this about the department head meetings, it's absolutely about me working during the day, and it's politics, and we need to move on, and we need to take care of business here in the village. So let's start doing that, please. So I will take your advisement, and I will sign, or I will ask a trustee if they're available to every other month attend the department head meetings and come back with a report, please.
It's great, I'd like to meet them. I'd like to put a face to all of them. I'm just learning who they are, so I think it's important that we do that. And
Thank you.
I'd
That's a
also
very-
like to add that, someone recently told me that politics is for the election, during the election. And once the election is over, we all have the responsibility to govern, and we need to govern and stop all the rest of it.
Absolutely.
And in order to govern, we have to be a team, so we need to do that.
So the department heads meetings is covered. Negotiations committee, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. It says, whereas the village requires a committee to negotiate with other municipalities. Are we required to have a committee to negotiate with other municipalities?
I was wondering the same thing.
So that's my first question. My second question, I don't mind being on said committee,
Well, somebody's got to
but
do
it
it.
would be nice if I would have been involved in the discussion of this, and rather than just finding my name on it.
Well, again, who wrote this resolution? You wrote the resolution?
I did.
And Kara, you were asked to sponsor the resolution. Did you
Yeah, I
understand the
didn't,
resolution?
I was not, I didn't really, I had some questions about it as well, because I didn't really know
Could you take a
what we would
second
be
and read over the,
negotiating.
could you read over the resolution? So, could you read over the resolution? so
No,
we
I
can-
don't need to read it over right now.
Okay.
But if we don't think that it's necessary, I'm happy to just get rid of it, or table it, or discuss it at another time, or discuss it over, think about it and come back in 2 weeks.
Well, we have
people vote on it,
negotiations
vote
with union contracts and things, I mean.
But I feel like,
What is?
is it
somebody's
sufficient to
gotta
just
do it.
have the attorney do that?
Attorney, a trustee, And
Well,
if
that's why they
needed,
were
when,
appointing a
if for
trustee and
money
attorney.
matters,
I mean, that's what it
the-
says.
the-
It states that.
Well, the issue I have is, it says that you're negotiating, that it is essential to those negotiating that the village utilizes one group with an authority to speak on behalf of the village. What if the water board were to walk in here today and offer something on the table, and Roger, trustee Pecos, and the attorney agree to it? They're binding us under this resolution that they're speaking under the authority of the rest of the board. Am I correct?
I think the intent was that some people think that some people are out speaking for the board rather than
No one
having
on this
several
board should
doing
be
that come
speaking
to-
for the board.
Exactly. I think that's the point. That's what we were saying.
I'm not. Roger, are you all speaking for me?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody can act unilaterally,
Right,
no matter
exactly.
what. The board acts as a
Right.
group and makes the decisions.
Right, I agree.
Dan,
Plus-
maybe you could clarify that a little bit more, seeing as you wrote that one for us.
Yeah, this was a resolution, the reason I worded it this way, we were thinking of a couple issues we had in the last couple of years where we had, well-intentioned, very dedicated trustees, meeting with groups of people, meeting with different boards and committees, and whether or not they had the legal authority to speak on behalf of the board,
Right.
it was that impression.
Right.
Okay, so the idea was to prevent, I mean, I know what happened with the PPD, it happened with a couple other things, where we had this trustee or that trustee meeting with this group, the meetings were official, nobody knew about it, then all of a sudden, here comes back, this is what we've agreed to.
Right.
So the idea was to have.
No, we didn't agree.
No,
We came back
no,
with
Okay.
suggestions. There was nothing we agreed to,
Again,
anything.
this is a committee, correct?
Yeah,
But
it's
the
a
idea
committee.
was that there would be a
Committee-
consensus at the discussion level before the
You're
information was
assuming.
brought back to the board.
I would think that if we're negotiating, for lack of a better word, or meeting with North County Water District, Town of Pomfret, anything like that, there'd be a couple trustees meeting with them. We'd report back to the board. If we needed legal advice, we'd be talking to our attorney, and this board would decide what, if it's me, Roger, whoever, what we're going to take back
Right,
to that group.
That's exactly what you
Right,
did,
I'd
Roger,
like
with
to
the
have attorney
PPD.
as part of those discussions, for sure. I mean, we need to have the attorney as part of those discussions.
Here, though,
Here, not at the meeting.
because the other question I got is.
No, but
according to the-
sometimes you're gonna need to ask the attorney a question right away. But yes, here, obviously here.
Because according to the charter, there will be up to 2 trustees appointed to committees. It says nothing about
It doesn't
anybody
have to be
else.
two.
Up to 2.
Up to,
Up to
yeah.
two.
Why don't we
But
think,
what
let's
you would know-
table this and discuss in 2 weeks and see what, if we wanna change it, reword it, how we wanna do it, and wants to be on.
Okay, to clarify the situation with the PPD, myself and trustee Barris were on that committee to negotiate some different rates. Trustee Michael Barris. We came back with recommendations. We did not agree to anything. We didn't have the ability or the lawful authority to do that. We brought back the recommendations back to the board, and the board voted on it as a whole. Period. So we're going to table that resolution?
Let's table let's table 13 too for discussion about doing
Okay.
that. I think it's a good idea, but I'd like to
The water filtration plant
Okay.
operator.
Yep. I
see if
agree.
people wanna think about it, come back, discuss.
It's fine. Number 14, water filtration plant operator.
Well, we were, you skipped over number 12, Doug?
Negotiations committee?
Yeah, no, the Downtown Revitalization Project Committee.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I'm sorry, I tabled number
You want
12.
to take 11 and 12, is that what you're saying?
Which one?
Discuss, table, see what you
Okay.
think.
And
So then we're on to
Which
number
one?
13?
No, which one do we table?
13 was a table, I believe.
Okay, and 13's a table also.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Thank you.
So 11, 12, and 13,
Yes.
Okay.
Well, 11, I thought we had left it,
as it
corrected it.
corrected it.
13 you wanna table
Okay,
too?
so we're under
So
the
it'd have
cut.
to be reworded.
We're-
But
or we
we're
just-
tabling 12 and 13.
Okay, that's what I thought.
11, I thought we were just getting rid of.
Correct.
I thought we were rewriting it to include us for the.
That would probably be,
No, that was,
We have that as committees.
no, 11, look at the top.
No, the department had meetings.
Yeah, why do we
Okay.
need a resolution?
Why is mine off?
yeah, we could rewrite that as a resolution to make that,
Yeah.
yes, that would be proper. We could do that. Yep.
So that's table 2 then?
Number 11
My 11
table,
is
so
his
like we
12.
can write it correctly next
I
meeting.
numbered my own.
Say that again, Doug.
Table number 11, department head meetings, so we can correctly write the
Write the
resolution.
resolution correctly, yeah.
Okay,
And 12 and 13 are tabled as well. I think.
okay,
You want to just use mine?
Yes, please, thank you.
all right. Can we move forward, guys? Number 14, water filtration plant operator.
We decided that we're gonna go ahead with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions on number 14? Fire hall building renovation bid.
Bless you.
I sent that information out. I apologize it was late. Any questions on it? Maybe Fire Chief Walker, do you have any comments on that?
I had met with them as well a couple weeks ago, and I recommended it just be rebid out the way it sits. We talked to Mr. Stoda today. Their previous bidding package went out for 1 week. I'm asking that it be sent out for a 3-week period, with the bid opening on the 18th of February, and for them to have something back to the board by March 9th, to give everybody time to look at it and digest it. And it's bidding it out as is, without any exceptions.
That kept the cost down to roughly 4,000.
This was, the proposal that you had is just to do
The bidding?
the rebidding portion of it, nothing else.
Did we talk about maybe doing that ourselves, rather than going with Wendell? We decided not to try to do
They
that.
own the bid
Yeah.
packet. The rest of what they proposed for is up for further discussion after the bids are awarded. Like the construction manager, and then a clerk of the works for it all can be determined at a later date.
Any other questions on that?
I think it's the most cost-effective way to go, and I just have a problem that we have to pay them $4,000 more because they bid this out during the construction season, and now we're requiring them to do it in a more timely fashion, and they're charging us for us, but as they own the bid, I guess we don't have too much of a choice, but I'm not
No,
happy
it's
with
been
it.
3 years that our fire station has been open to weather and so forth.
It's been open to weather since 1984.
Okay, a lot more years, yeah, I'm sorry. Really opened up.
That was when it was first recommended that these repairs.
Okay, thank you.
That was easy.
Old business, insurance claim for damaged fountain in Barker Common. From what I understand, the $10,000 deductible would be way more than what it would cost, apparently, to replace it. I would like to entertain the thought for the board maybe to approve maybe a reward to the return or the conviction of individuals. I don't know if that would help. I don't know if do we have any, I don't know.
The only problem I have is, what else is gonna start disappearing so they get a reward? So I understand where you're coming from, but I don't wanna encourage,
How about the arrest and conviction?
yeah.
Yes.
I think that should be part of it if we are gonna offer any type of reward.
Chief, any input?
We don't have anything on that cherub at this point in time, so any help along that lines, I don't see where it would hurt to offer a little something. It's more than likely in a college house. It's just a matter of getting into, is that where we found it last time? I believe so, and it was 25 years ago.
Maybe back if you had a witness.
Is that something we can do, Attorney Guard? Offer a reward?
You could, I mean, you'd want to be specific.
Okay.
My understanding, I thought, was that, didn't a small business already offer something on that? I
I'm not
thought I
sure.
read that in the newspaper, maybe I'm dreaming.
It very well could be, I don't know that for a fact.
A small business, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
that's what I thought.
Why are we asking the chamber and other entities to kick in?
We could.
We're asking for money. Right, Michelle?
Everybody's asking for money.
We don't have a lot of money to give out.
Well, does the board want to think about it, or would you like to act on that this evening?
Who's here?
But there should be something in writing anyway, as far as a job description goes. I mean, there is one for deputy clerk.
It's under old business, we could discuss it and bring it back out and make a resolution out of it next time. How's that?
The big thing is all
That's fine.
the additional workload because of all the grants, because she's handling all
Right,
the grants.
right, no one's arguing paying more money.
Just a title?
It's just a matter of what, yeah, how do we
Are we,
go about
are we
doing
not filling a
this?
position that needs to be appointed by the end of the month? Attorney Guard?
You haven't had it.
There's no one to take minutes and board meetings when I leave, and I'm leaving for vacation, and someone needs to come here and do it.
Right.
So it would be help if you could make that decision tonight, as far as the clerk goes.
So if we pass the resolution as a deputy clerk,
Yeah,
scratch
that-
the treasurer,
yes,
again, we can
that-
revisit this.
Right.
And do
No.
we need
let's
to
do that.
adjust,
But we still don't have the,
do we need to adjust the stipend because you've adjusted now the workload? Would it be half of that?
The work still has to get done. So now, so basically we're saying, well, we're only gonna pay you less.
Yeah, I don't
because
think we need to
don't-
do that.
I don't think we
Right, I
should.
don't think so.
No, let's just,
If she's
I think
helping-
the,
if she's
I think the
helping out
stipend is
both
plenty.
You're not getting any more money.
What are you gonna do, hire a deputy treasurer and pay somebody even more?
Yeah, no, I
I'm
think,
saying we don't need one. I think we need a treasurer before we
well,
decide if we
yeah, but
even
until
need
we
one.
find one.
But
I
even
think
when
we
you have
need
a
to
treasurer, what if the treasurer's out? What if something happens to our treasurer?
Right,
That's
If you
why
have
you
it-
have finance committee.
correct.
That's why you have
Well,
trustees.
Eva's got
in
it
charge of
covered, I
finance.
understand, but again, tonight, I think we should just concentrate on covering Ann, deputy clerk's position, and the stipend,
Deputy
I
clerk
don't
would be
think
good.
is unrealistic considering the work she's been doing.
No, she earns
I
that.
agree. Just make it a
I
deputy
think we
clerk.
all agree on that.
All right, so then that resolution will pass? Or at least be
Is
put
there any
forward?
other,
Sure.
any other comments?
No, that's good.
Well, we're just gonna call it a deputy clerk.
Yes.
And we're gonna add it
Any
to,
other comments?
so add it to your bottom pile.
And if we added a treasurer, I need a job description. I want to see one. Because I think you have to write it.
What's your question?
no, I don't think that there's, it should, no, I just don't think that should be, going after a clerk now. Once again, we have other,
You vote on it.
things that we need to be paying for.
If he doesn't
We
agree
can
with
look
it, he
fine
can vote no.
without one. We've always had, been able to make do, so.
Yeah. Mayor, the one other thing under old business, if we're moving on.
Sure, let's move on.
Chief, I know we got our new fire truck delivered. When's it gonna be put in service?
It needs to go back to Kenworth next Thursday.
Okay.
The passenger seatbelt is not anchored to anything, so
No.
it will not be in service until that is completed at the factory.
Alright, do you-
Fire, so we'll be able to do that in Buffalo. It should be back, I'm hoping on Friday, probably back in service the following week.
Do we do a dedication ceremony or anything like that?
We have not planned anything yet.
No.
We can.
I just think it'd be kind of a neat thing to do.
Department chaplain is gone until.
Well, yeah.
So probably when the weather gets better, we plan something with both trucks that arrive this year.
Why don't you just use a bottle of champagne? Do a little shit.
That's right, yeah. Smash it with a bottle of champagne.
Any other old business? New business, letter from Matthew Brown regarding Eagle Scout project. Did you do that?
Yep.
That's great. Thank you, Matthew Brown.
To the Village Board, my name is Matthew Brown. I'm a Boy Scout in Fredonia's Troop 267. To earn my Eagle rank, I need to organize a project that benefits my community. I would like to propose improving the walking trail from the Hamlet Street entrance of Russell Joy Park to the first bridge. I have communicated my idea to the Fredonia Department of Public Works and the Recreation Department and received a positive response. I would like to see if the Village Board would approve the project. Could I please have this put on the agenda and schedule it for the first board meeting in February? Thank you. Sincerely, Matthew Brown.
Nice.
Nice. Any
What do we need
comments?
to do to accept, to do that? Does it require a resolution?
Do we require a resolution for that?
No, I don't believe so.
No.
He's not asking to do anything. It would depend on what he, what he
I would
wanted
just-
to do, but I don't see anything that's necessary.
So we just maybe send them an official letter okaying it and
Right.
saying coordinate any
That's
work with
sufficient.
Mr. Gugino?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
Send a letter to him.
okay, thank you.
And then let us know when he's done with it, so
We can go
we
down.
can recognize him. yeah? That's great.
A letter from Todd Tranum, Small Business Revolution Committee. Did we read that one?
Yeah, we read
We
that
read
one.
it. It's,
2020 rabies immunization clinic.
everyone has it in their packet. It's pretty
Okay.
long.
Yeah, everybody has it in their packet, so please just read that. Open discussion?
The town usually does this, don't they?
They do,
Yeah.
but I thought it should come up for discussion here as well, so I just put it in the,
Okay.
on the
My mom
agenda.
did it for like 20 years. In
Okay.
charge of the rabies.
Any open discussion?
Yes, I have something.
Okay.
On Friday, I got my agenda emailed to me. Thank you very much, Anne Marie.
You're welcome.
There was a caveat to it that said, this is not a firm agenda. You'll get a hard copy that probably will have changes to it on Monday. I have a problem with that. I worked today. I couldn't get over here before the meeting to see the agenda. And now we're scrambling. I came in a little early to read it. But I firmly believe that we need to set an agenda deadline that we stick to. For example, if we're meeting on the 27th, the deadline for the agenda on the 27th should be the 20th, the week before. And that agenda can be submitted to the clerk, and that it is firmly written and in its final form on Wednesday, so that we have time to go over it and read it. And some of the questions that I asked tonight in regard to personnel and stuff, I could have done that homework and not taken up an hour's time in discussion. I could have done that outside that. I can't do it when I get an agenda the same 15 minutes before the meeting. It's not good business.
We did pass a resolution, I believe, last year, year before, with a meeting procedure and when we were supposed to get the agendas out.
I have a copy of it.
was
And when
Thursday.
is that deadline?
Thursday.
1 PM
I have
on
a copy of
Wednesday.
it.
Mayor, she's got a copy of that.
So it's 1 PM on Wednesday?
I would like to revisit that
Yeah.
resolution, and we can amend that resolution to help in exactly what.
So if it's
we've
1
been
PM
talking
on
about
Wednesday
for-
that they have to be submitted to Anne Marie, then when is the final copy done?
The
Final
Friday,
copy, no changes. That's the thing. Here, that's
Well,
the
I
other
guess
thing is
the
that.
first question, is everything getting to you by 1 PM? on
well,
Wednesday?
mostly, but there has to be room for an emergency.
Well, that's what I think we have to write. I understand the emergency
Okay,
thing,
okay.
but we have to have guidelines as to what's an emergency,
Okay.
because there isn't a single resolution on here tonight
That's an emergency.
that's an emergency, that couldn't have been handed to you a week or two ago, that we would have been able to do our homework to.
I always felt that the police department's resolutions, requests for hiring people was pretty important.
I understand
Okay.
that, but I also think that 2 more weeks, if we wanted to see a resume, qualifications, and meet with the candidate, that we need that time to do that. And if I'd gotten a firm agenda on Wednesday, I might have been able to do that before tonight. But we seem to be rushing all the time. And it gives the impression of secrecy. Because who's sponsoring this resolution? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? They just suddenly pop up somewhere. Nobody knows where they're coming from. I think the other thing that needs to be done is that the resolutions all must be submitted to the clerk, and the clerk hands them to the attorney, and the attorney writes the resolutions. And they're not secret to anybody. No one walking in here tonight should have been reading those resolutions for the first time tonight. We don't need to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. We don't need to play these games. We need to know up front so that these discussions, and there's lots of them, can happen prior to our decision-making.
The agenda that I follow was a resolution that was passed by the board in 2018, so I am sticking to what was passed.
Right.
It needs to be amended.
Right.
Done over. As of now, if it came into me after 1 o'clock, it has to have 2 board members to sponsor it. That's never been an issue.
Well, see, that's the thing. The sponsor thing, if you're sponsoring something, you should be able to sponsor it the week before. Sponsoring this last minute thing is what makes it appear like we're all trying to pull the wool over each other's eyes. And we're playing these games. That's the thing that I don't understand. You get 2 sponsors, everybody's whispering behind closed doors as to who we can get to get on here and get it on the agenda. No, I think that's ridiculous. I think that the sponsors, if you're sponsoring it, be upfront. Do it in a week. Do it the week before. Those 2 sponsor things just causes for hard feelings and animosity when you're seeing them for the first time and there's not room to really discuss it. I don't think it makes for good business. So I'm asking you all to consider changing this to make it the deadline the week before with a hard copy, firm hard copy, unless there's an emergency, and we need to define what an emergency is. You know, if there's a break in the water, if there's something that has to be taken care of right away, if there's a personnel issue, that's an emergency, I get that. A new hire for a part-time officer, I'm sorry, I don't see that as an emergency. It's important, but I don't see it as an emergency. And I know that Chief Maslach was appointed the same night I was, so it's only been 2 weeks, I get that. But going forward, we need to plan a little ahead. We need to plan more ahead. We need to be organized a little bit better than we are.
Can I make a suggestion? That could you review this and come back with a revised resolution that we could pass?
I think we should discuss it next time.
Yeah.
But again, I'd be happy to.
Well, I'm willing to submit something to the clerk that the attorney will write, but I'm not, I don't think we should all be writing our own resolutions to put onto the agenda.
No, I agree with you 100%, Trustee Bashaw, but you know what? Your appointment that first night was
I know
exactly
that.
the same
I
night.
understand that, and it was the
It was
two sponsor
wrong.
thing. I get that whole thing. But those are the things going
Exactly.
forward that we need to learn from and move on with.
Well, and
You're
that's why
correct.
this originally was an attempt to prevent that from happening. So it may not be perfect, and it may get jumbled up in the business of taking care of the village, but this was an attempt to try to limit that.
But it hasn't limited
Hasn't.
it.
No, but it has somewhat made it better.
Has it?
Yes, a little, I
It
mean, it
was
has
worse?
Made it a
somewhat.
lot better than what it was before.
Yes.
It was worse?
Better than it was before.
Holy crap.
I mean, things
This
would
def-
be
okay,
changed
this
all the
definitely needs to
time.
be revisited, and we
Absolutely.
definitely need some serious work on it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I hate to keep throwing back 20 years ago, but I know that we had a firm agenda and it didn't change unless it was an emergency. And we had it in our hands at least 5 days before a meeting so that we could talk about it, discuss it, do whatever
So I
we
don't have
needed
to waste
do
my
it.
Sunday, all day Sunday researching things on the internet and not visiting with my family and wife because.
Yeah,
Oh,
or calling
thank
to
you.
see what's
Thank you.
happening, yeah.
Well,
I
that's
just
the other
think it's
reason why it makes
important.
sense to have meetings every other week.
Yes.
So that you have time to digest and
Yes.
research and talk.
Exactly, but you gotta have that deadline to have that time.
Okay, thank you.
What do you want me to do now?
Nothing.
You want me to write something?
No, just I want you to revisit the resolution.
See how it needs to be tweaked?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mayor, before we continue, can we take a 5-minute recess? Does anyone need to use the?
He has to go to the bathroom.
Anyone else?
Go for it.
Is there any, I don't
I'm just
need,
asking before we continue.
Yes.
Anyone else care to take a 5-minute recess?
how about make it 2 minutes?
2 minutes?
Yes, 2 minutes, real quick.
Put it on the clock.
The clock started, Roger. You're wrong.
Chips a ticking.
I'd like to start the Board of Trustees regular meeting, January 27th, 2020, at 9:30 PM. A regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia duly called and held on the 27th day of January 2020 at 9:30 PM in the Trustees Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media, conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with section 104 of the Open Meetings Law.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You gotta read
You just had a break, bud.
Yeah, I know, I'm still on break. Whereas the members of this board present at this meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees' regular meeting of January 13th, 2020. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this board approves the minutes as entered in the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes will be dispensed with.
I will second that motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand and state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes if speaking for themselves, or 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. I will ask the speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board.
Privilege of the floor, would you please stand up if you'd like to speak?
May I use one of these microphones?
Yes, please.
This one's silver one.
The silver one? Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Helen Ehas. I reside at 20 Ryan Place. I am here to represent a group of concerned citizens. I watched the village board meeting on January 13th, and I have several points I would like to discuss. I am confused by the process that was used to appoint Eap Services to the village board on January 13th. I will say that I have nothing against this new trustee. It is my hope that she does an awesome job. But I do not understand why no other candidates were considered. It would seem to make sense that Mrs. Cunningham, the person who got the next highest number of votes during the election, would at least be discussed as a possible candidate. According to the Board of Elections, there were 6,920 people in the village of Fredonia that voted. Of that number, 1,106 voted for Ms. Cunningham. Mrs. Cunningham went through the election process and made statements in public about her views, as did all those who went through the election process. The new trustee did not. Instead, there was a motion by one trustee to avoid executive session and bring forth a nomination to appoint a new trustee without discussion of any other candidates. At least 2 trustees indicated that they were unhappy with the process as it was ongoing. The only people in this village who voted for this new trustee were the 3 trustees in this room who approved her appointment on January 13th. 3 trustees as opposed to 1,106 village voting residents. This seems like a lack of true representation. I am also wondering how the new trustee knew that she should be at the meeting on January 13th, and where she proceeded to vote on matters that she didn't know anything about. Not her fault, unless she had been briefed ahead of time. If there was a meeting among some village board members to arrange the new trustee's candidacy and brief her on the business of the village board in advance of the January 13th meeting, this could possibly be a violation of the New York State Open Meetings Law. The way this entire process was handled could cause some people to think that there was some other agenda at work here. My second point, disagreement and debate can be healthy in choosing the best solution to an issue. However, there should never be personal attacks on other members of the board during the meeting or at any other time. It is demeaning, unprofessional, counterproductive, and makes a mockery of our village board. Mr. Trustee, what do you hope to accomplish for this village and its residents by continuing to verbally accost another trustee and our mayor during the meetings on issues that are no longer relevant? Again, this could cause some people to possibly wonder what your agenda is. Third, I frankly do not care if you are Republican, Democrat, Independent, or Martian for that matter. I remind you that you are all Fredonians and that you need to ask yourself every time you speak during these meetings, every time you vote, ask yourself what is best for this village and for the people who live here, because they have elected you to represent the people of this village, and you are expected to perform that duty with decorum and integrity. This is not a place for individual agendas and vendettas. Finally, in looking over the agenda for this evening, I questioned, and I see you have tabled it, Mrs. Landis' appointment to a committee. I have many things I could say about that, but I think I won't because things are getting a little long. But Again, the people of the village would wonder exactly what the agenda here is, given the contentious nature of the mayoral election that she lost. So in closing, I would just say, do a better job. Work together. There's a lot good going on here, as Mr. Trainum said earlier, so eloquently. We are watching you to see what is going on. If we're not here in this room, a lot of us are watching at home. Thank you so much for your time.
Would anyone else like to address the board?
Sam Drayle, village resident, with your permission. I'd like to sit down, Mayor. I have a bad back, and if I stand long enough, it's gonna happen. I had comments on the resolutions. Some of them, the board members have answered, and I think some of them are moot because you've tabled them. But I've noticed a lack of detail in some of the resolutions of late, and it's concerning me, and it could raise problems. There's an old legal saying, the devil lies in the details. And that's so true. If you're an attorney, you'll agree, I think, with that, Dan. The details matter. Regarding the resolution for the hiring of the consultant for the water system construction, what water system construction are you referring to? You read the resolution, you haven't got a clue. The resolution's silent on that. What is the residence of the construction consultant? It just gives his name, no residence. These are details that should be in every resolution. Is the consultant a licensed engineer or a licensed civil engineer? The resolution's silent. Has a consultant provided the village with appropriate insurance documents, naming the village as an additional insured and indemnifications? What are the duties of the consultant? The resolution's silent. That should be in the resolution. The village has used O'Brien and Gear as its consultant for water project. Is this a change? Has the consultant been interviewed by the board members? Has he provided references? What's his prior experience with construction, not being a water treatment plant operator? And I don't even know this individual. He might be highly qualified, but the resolution doesn't spell out these details. Who's the consultant to report to? It's not stated in the resolution. It should be the mayor and the board and Mr. Cugino. Resolution needs more information. I'll go to another resolution. There's a resolution proposing to establish an employee assistance plan for its employees and retain the services of ESI Group. I don't have any personal opinion of whether that's good for the village or not. But the resolution should spell out briefly what those duties are. The contract will spell out in detail what he does, but the resolution should say, whereas the consultant or EIS is to provide generally the following duties. That should be spelled out in the resolution. They're going to charge the village, I think, $3,500 for their services. Is there any charge to the employees, which the contract says will become members? The contract's silent on regarding any charges to the employee. If there is no charges, the contract should state so. There will be no charges to any employees of the village. Usually these groups, employee assistance programs, are referrals. You call them up, oh, I'm having problems with my spouse. I think I need a divorce. Can you help me? They're not going to do the divorce. The divorce can cost $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, maybe more. They're not going to do that. They're going to refer it out. And there's a whole list of other things they do that I believe they refer out to other people to do. What other municipalities in the area have used this ESI? And what's their opinion of their services? Are there any... ESI will be a contractor with the village. If there's a lawsuit because ESI did something wrong or didn't provide the proper consultant to do the work of the employee wants done, the village, because they are our contractor, could be a defendant in a lawsuit. Does EIS carry insurance? What are their limits of insurance? Will the village be named as an additional insured? The resolution's silent, and the contract doesn't even address those issues. The contract states that the contract with EIS states that the agreement and quote unquote, all related documents will be signed by the parties. What are the related documents? You should see the full contract, not the basic contract, but the related documents and review them. This resolution needs further study and clarification. Now, there's a resolution also to establish a special hiring committee consisting of the personnel assistant and an elected trustee to be appointed by the village board. That resolution violates our village charter. Section 63-1B of our charter specifically gives the mayor the right to appoint members of standing committees. The charter also requires that only trustees shall be members of the standing committees, not a personnel assistant or employee. Only trustees can be members of the standing committees. This resolution appoints an employee with a trustee. That violates our charter. A hiring committee, they mentioned. A hiring committee should not be established. We have a personnel committee. Personnel committee covers a whole gamut of things. It could be discipline. It could be a work problem with the employee. So the correct term is personnel committee. Encompasses a lot of things. And the personnel committee comes back to the village board with recommendations. The final say-so, whether it's discipline or hiring, is with the village board. Not a hiring committee implies that that committee hires, and that's not the case. This has been a long meeting, so I'm sorry about this, but I need to say these things. There was a resolution in here, I don't know if this has been tabled, but stating that a majority of department heads work 7 to 3 p.m. and that working beyond that day creates a hardship. Who says it creates a hardship? Salaried employees are supposed to work as long as necessary to get the job done. Hourly employees are different. Department heads are salaried. If they have to come in at 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night because there's a good reason for it, they have to do that. Now, if there's a hardship, the department head will call the mayor and say, I've got a hardship. And the mayor's going to, I know you, Doug, and any mayors that we've had here are compassionate people. We're all in the same community. They're going to say, fine, you don't have to come, or we'll reschedule. That's rarely ever happened. That resolution to me seems directed at you, Mayor, and it seems vindictive and mean-spirited, in my opinion. All department heads should do whatever is necessary to work with Mayor Essex for the best interests of the village. This resolution should not be passed. Regarding the resolution concerning a special negotiating committee, that's not in the best interest of the village. It's not needed and can create problems. If an issue arises where the village needs to work with another municipality, then the mayor and the board can discuss how to address the issue. No individual should be authorized to negotiate on behalf of the village. The customary and best practice is for the village to send one or more representatives to the meeting to get information and to bring it back to the village board for discussion, to see what the village's board's position is. Once a village position is established by the village board, then the mayor and one or more trustees can meet with the other entity and give them the village's position. To have 2 village representatives negotiate for the village and then find out later that the village board disagrees with the negotiations that they came back with will only create problems, bad feelings, and mistrust. This resolution should not be passed. Are you tabling the Downtown Revitalization Committee resolution?
Yes.
Okay, because I had comments on that. How about the one on Trustee Britz? Has that been taken off?
Yes.
Okay. We're a small community. Let's all work together with each other. I've worked with 7 mayors. Some were Democrats, some were Republicans. It doesn't bother me. I was only interested in making sure the village functioned properly for the best interests of its residents. And I really believe all of us should be headed in that direction. And that's thank you for the privilege of speaking to you, Mayor and Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the floor?
Yes, Mark Twitchell, Temple Street, Fredonia, speaking for the Fenner House. We're all pleased to learn that we received a letter from the New York State Department of Historic Preservation recognizing the historic significance of the Fenner House. Now, this is important because it fits nicely with two of the possible actions that this board might take in favor of preservation. The first of those being the proposal to amend or to adopt a moratorium for buildings that are so recognized by this Department of Historic Preservation. And the second being that this board could draft a resolution in recognition of the historic significance of the Fenner House. And I think of those two possibilities, the second is far easier to draft a resolution, obviously, than to adopt a moratorium. And you might ask, well, if the State Office of Historic Preservation has already recognized the significance, why should the Village of Fredonia do the same? And my answer is simply that this office represents a state agency in Albany, and I believe that it would benefit the cause of the preservation of the Fenner House greatly to have the actual Village of Fredonia recognize the importance of this property. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the floor?
Yes, sir. Hi, Dave Britton, Chestnut Street. I just wanted to say a couple things people have been saying already in the room, especially about the agenda and the website and about the resolutions. You guys should not be voting on resolutions that have not been thoroughly and completely vetted by the village lawyer. That doesn't make any sense at all, to me at least. So I hope that we can get all the resolutions earlier so the clerk has time to get them out to everybody, get them maybe even on the website so the public could be aware of what it is that we've been coming here for tonight and all that kind of stuff. I know I keep harping on this issue, but it seems important. So those things, let's see. And then also, yeah, I think, when Mr. Sedota kindly stepped forward a year and a half ago or something at this point to say, hey, I'll step into the void here when we had one. It was a temporary measure, and we've done nothing, unfortunately, in the meantime, to find him a replacement, which he said at the time he wanted, and I believe he still does. So we should definitely be looking for an actual treasurer so that we can have things moving forward for a long time instead of just being until forever. So those are my main comments. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the floor?
Mayor, I don't want to extend this long meeting longer than necessary, but this has to do with a little bit what this gentleman was saying. Having a workshop and then immediately going into a regular meeting to adopt resolutions is problematic. This was the practice the village board for many years had, was to have a meeting for just discussing resolutions and then waiting a week, thinking about the resolutions. Sometimes the trustees will have a second thought about it. They have time to vet it before they adopt it. But to come in and go through a long workshop session and then immediately expected to go in and adopt resolutions is asking for problems. Sometimes a thought will come in mind a few days after the workshop that requires a change in the workshop resolution. Also, by waiting that 1 week, as we have for many, many, many years in the past, gives the public the opportunity to review the resolutions. And the public may have objections and good reasons, may come to light to change or delete the resolution that was talked about at the workshop session. I urge the board to reinstitute the prior practice of village boards for many years and have the workshop one Monday and the regular meeting on the following Monday. It's in keeping with the spirit of full and public disclosure of proposed board resolutions and transparency.
Thank you. Anybody else from the floor? Anybody else from the floor? Anybody else from the floor? Public portion's closed. I'll be real brief on my report. I just wanted to update everybody on the projects we have going on right now. Our Barker Commons project, We'll be going out for a pre-bid meeting here shortly, February 10th, 2020, so that project is moving forward very well. Our Smart Growth project, which involves the Opera House and downtown revitalization, streetscape improvements, that's also moving along quite well. And our third one that we have for grants is the Main Street card building that involves Ted Sharon, and he's working diligently to get that moving forward. We had a 6-month extension on the grant so that he could continue. There was some delays with the architectural engineering firm, but it's moving forward. Recently, I met with Pomfret Supervisor Dan Pecos. We had discussions on a number of collaborations. One thing that he would like to look at is our contract for our water rates in the town. So that's something that our board needs to think about here, to look into shortly. Looking at updating both our comprehensive plans at the same time. Apparently, when we both did our comprehensive plans, the same company did different plans. I think we could work together and come up with a single comprehensive plan that would cover both the town of Pomfret and the village of Fredonia. And some shared services for our highway department we're looking into. There might be some options there. I also met with Mayor Rosas and from the city of Dunkirk. We'd like to continue to explore shared services and facilities and continue to work forward on the Central Connection project. And that's all. And also our Small Business Revolution, we're having the reveal tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Please come early. We'll find out if we are the winners of $500,000 in revitalization for 6 small businesses. So please come early, and we look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you. Trustee Christina?
The Cable Studio Open House on Saturday. Please join us. That's it.
Trustee Linden?
Yeah, what I have to say is very relevant and due to the liability issues. I said at the last meeting that having Trustee Britz on any committee where he will be able to interact with employees makes me uncomfortable. Lies make me even more uncomfortable. Mr. Britz was not charged criminally, as he said, because none of the affected employees chose to do so. But to say that 8 of our employees lied when they signed a sworn statement, or that it was the Democratic caucus who brought forth the charges, is simply not true. The Board of Trustees, in a 3-to-1 vote, identified his alleged behavior as workplace violence. The current mayor, a Republican, was one of the 3 votes, while Dr. Barris, a Democrat, voted against it. The Board of Trustees directed Mr. Britz to do the easiest thing, say, "I'm sorry for what happened." We all make mistakes, but most of us are able to own up to them and apologize. Apparently not Mr. Britz. And interestingly enough, Mr. Essex said that as far as he's concerned, the matter was dropped. I'm not aware of that, and who did that. In any case, this is my position. I have no idea where the rest of the board stands, or if there is anything they want to do about it. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Britz.
I was going to have Clerk Johnson read our workplace violence policy and read a definition under this workplace violence policy, which is defined as harassment. I'm not going to do that tonight. I think I'm just going to let the conversation lie. As for my trustees report, I'm very excited to be part of the Small Business Revolution Committee, and tomorrow is a very, very exciting day for us. As a community, we came together, we rallied with other communities and other organizations and communities all over this country to help us put us on a map. Win or lose tomorrow, it was a definite exciting experience for me to be part of an amazing team that was put together rapidly to make this happen. I want hats off to the entire team and wish us the best of luck that we all, as a community, win this tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to celebrating in the streets. Unfortunately, we won't be able to celebrate with a few adult beverages, but we're still going to be celebrating in the streets tomorrow. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Pecos?
I guess one question I have, or one thought I have in response to Trustee Linden is my understanding that Dr. Barris, Trustee Barris, reviewed the information, reviewed video, and I find it very interesting that he was one that voted to say it was not workplace violence. Trustee Britz and I met with Chief Walker and several firefighters, Firefighter Aldridge and Winters. It's just kind of a regular scheduled thing we're going to do to keep lines of communication open. We had a great discussion, probably almost 2 hours, just about the problems and the issues they're facing, especially with the increased EMS, and I know that's going to be coming up on a future board agenda. I hope to see a large turnout tomorrow night. I just want to thank everybody involved. I know it's a huge committee. They did a tremendous effort to get Fredonia where it is and when we win tomorrow. I know it's going to be a heck of a celebration. If you told me a couple months ago that we're going to be having a major celebration in front of Village Hall at the end of January, probably everybody would have said you're nuts, but I think it's great, and I hope a lot of people turn out. Mr. Twitchell, Mayor Essick and I did have a discussion regarding the Fenner House. We talked about the fact he had sent a letter before. I just want you to know we didn't forget about it. We have been discussing it to see what our options are. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Bashaw?
Just like to reiterate the need and desire for an agenda deadline that we stick to, and the resolutions being written by the attorney and sent through the clerk. And I will be reviewing this and probably adding some changes to it so that it can be addressed. And I would like to say again, I think that the committees are well represented in there, and you did a good job with those stuff.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody shows up tomorrow. I think that'll be great. What fun.
Yep. All right. Jim's not here, so reports, building inspector's report, please.
Building inspector's report for the month of December 2019. Building permits issued 6, inspections 7, certificates of occupancy 5, certificates of compliance 10, violations found 4, violations satisfied 2, fees collected for permit fees $485, rental $1,185, certificate of compliance 1,000, zoning variances 150, for a total of 2,820. Rental inspections 15, rental renewals 8. Junk car property and maintenance, found 3 junk cars and 2 property maintenance inspections. Removed 1 property maintenance and 1 junk car. That's it for the reports.
Can I ask a question? Chuck, as long as you're here. When you have like the violations where you found 4, only 2 were satisfied, or there was 1 property maintenance problem and only 1 was resolved, does that, they have a certain timeline before they're?
It sort of like rotates. I mean, some people may need more time, so they're not in compliance yet. Some people may need to go to court. I think in December, I think we actually wrote 1 appearance to get to court. In some cases, we're doing 4 and 5, so the violations aren't satisfied until the judge rules on it. But it's sort of like always. As long as
Okay. Just curious.
Yep.
Is there any other correspondence?
There's no more reports, but there is correspondence.
Okay. I'm sorry,
Want me to
correspondence.
start with that?
Yes.
Okay. Correspondence was received from Brad Myers, former chief of police, informing that the Board of Trustees that Muldowney Brothers Lawn Care has offered to pay the replacement costs for the police sign as a community service.
change the way this is worded. We talked about,
We're
I
gonna
thought we were gonna approve this.
approve it, but hold off.
We'll
on-
just hold off on the final
okay,
design.
so we're just, okay.
Yep.
Whereas Muldowney Brothers Lawn Care Service of Fredonia, New York has offered to donate the cost of replacing the Village of Fredonia police sign, therefore be it resolved that said donation is accepted for the above stated purpose, and the mayor is hereby authorized to send the Muldowney Brothers Lawn Care Service a letter thanking them for their generous gift to the Village of Fredonia.
Second that.
A motion was made and a second. Is there any discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Are we reading the correspondence from Rich Ryan again, or did we decide?
Yeah,
not
what are
to?
we gonna, good question.
I thought that resolution was changed to purchasing of soda and that waiving the $50 application fee
Okay.
for food vendor.
Should I just go ahead? You
I
need
can,
to- okay.
correspondence was received from Rich Ryan, SBRT member, requesting the closing of Church Street between Temple Street and Day Street on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020, from 6 PM to 11 PM for the purpose of bringing a DJ for entertainment purposes. They also plan on selling beer and soda at the event, or have consulted with Chief Maslach and have gotten his approval.
Be it resolved that Church Street between Temple Street and Day Street be closed during the hours of 6 PM to 11 PM on January 28th, 2020 for the purpose of a DJ and the selling and purchasing of soda. Are they selling it or just donating it? By the Small Business Revolution Committee is hereby approved and subject to the village receiving a certificate of insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the village as an additional insured, which has been received, and the fee of $50 is waived
It's not,
for the
it's
food
not a
vendor.
$50 fee. It's not a $50 fee.
$500.
$500 fee is waived for the food vendors. Should I say that this is a one-time only? As a special courtesy and a one-time only event?
Any discussion? Is that me? Is that be okay? Okay, yes.
Second.
You could ask the attorney, yeah. You could ask him.
Do we, is that
Is
okay?
that worded correctly?
It's up to the board. If they want to waive the fee, I'm just thinking that in the future, we're gonna have problems with other people. The board's made other people pay the fee. I know this is different, but I just wanna make everybody aware, this is gonna come up again, and they're gonna say, you can say one time or whatever, but it is gonna come up again, and everybody's gonna say, well, I'm a special case too.
We'll hand it out on a case by
Okay.
case.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
This is a tough one because it's, the issue of the fee is very significant. It's not even a small amount. And the event is a spectacular event. I think it's great for the village, but I have an issue with the fee, so I'm going to say no.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Correspondence was received and approved from 64 On the Rocks Incorporated, doing business as 64 On the Rocks, notifying the village that they will be applying for their on-premise liquor license and requesting a waiver on the 30-day advance notice for property located at 64 West Main Street, Fredonia 14063. That's it.
We'll move on to resolutions.
So we're not gonna pass it?
We don't need to.
Right.
Be resolved that Zachary Smith, 9719 Wilson Road, Fredonia, hereby promoted to the position of motor equipment operator at the Department of Public Works at an hourly rate of $22.07, effective January 28th, 2020, subject to civil service rules and regulations and subject to a probationary period of 6 months.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Aye.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Tabling that one.
Be it resolved that Travis Hanson of Dwintville, New York, is hereby appointed to the position of part-time police officer effective immediately at a rate of pay of $16 per hour, with no other benefits, subject to all civil service rules and regulations.
I second that.
Been a motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia requires a consultant for the water system construction, which we've got into some detail. Whereas Jerry Falco is willing and able to provide construction consulting at a rate of $35 an hour with estimated work hours. I got the right one?
No, read that one.
No. Where'd that one come from? You and gave me your own sheet. I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Let's try this again. Whereas the Village of Fredonia requires the consultant of the water system construction, and whereas Jerry Falco has over 30 years of experience in the water distribution, including experience as a Dunkirk Chief Water Plant Operator. And whereas Jerry Falco is willing and able to provide construction consulting rate at $35 an hour with an estimated work hour of 10 to 15 hours per week, not to exceed $15,000. Therefore, be it resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to retain the services of Jerry Falco under the supervision of Chris Surma and Tony Gugino.
I second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Whereas the village is responsible to provide an employee assistance program, or EAP, for its personnel, and whereas the ESI group of 55, can't read my writing, give me 1 second.
I don't have it either.
Chamberlain Street?
Yes,
Wellsville.
55 Chamberlain Street, Wellsville, New York. Whereas the ESI group of 55 Chamberlain Street, Wellsville, New York, has offered to provide EAP services to the village's 87 employees for 12 months at a cost of $3,500. Therefore, be resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to enter into an agreement with the ESI group to provide EAP services.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
I just want to
Oh,
point
I'm
out
sorry.
that this is a renewal.
Correct.
This is
This
renewal.
isn't new. This has been in place.
Correct.
So this is not a new, right? How long has it been in place?
A year.
1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Next is the table.
The next three are table.
Next three,
We don't have to bother with the
Four, right.
five,
Five,
six
six.
are table.
This one, Bashaw, Pecos.
Oh, yeah, I'm jumping here. Is there any way we can number these things and
Got
the
it right here.
pages?
She- hand it. Yeah, she gave it to me.
Where am I? Be it resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to canvass civil service lists for the position of water filtration plant operator.
I second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
That's it. Okay. Whereas the village fire department requires repair and renovations, and whereas Wendell Engineering has offered to provide rebidding services as outlined in Task 1A of the Wendell Engineering document, fire hall building envelope renovations dated January 13, 2020 for the project at a cost of $4,000. Therefore, be it resolved, the mayor is hereby authorized to direct into a contract with Wendell Engineering to provide rebidding services for the village hall not to exceed $4,000.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Brits?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
One more.
One more.
Okay.
Be resolved that Lori Richardson is hereby appointed deputy clerk at an annual rate of $4,000.
I'll second the resolution.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I thought that was 3,500.
I don't remember hearing that, but.
It was always, to my knowledge, it was
And
always.
what did you record?
Last week, I thought it was 3,500.
No, it's always been 4.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No.
Okay. Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
No.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Did we say clerk? Deputy clerk?
Deputy clerk.
Deputy clerk.
Just the deputy clerk. Yes.
Carried. If there's no further.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden? Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.